heading into Memorial Stadium on an ideal fall football Saturday, where kickoff, for so many reasons, can't come soon enough. Moments ago, the Cornhusker marching band took the field under the direction of Anthony Falcone. Like no other for Nebraska head coach Bo Pelini. Monday, a 2-year-old audio tape of what he believed to be a private conversation was leaked to a national website. Took place after an emotional win over Ohio State. It was profanity-laced, include negative comments about local fans and media. Midweek, Nebraska Chancellor Harvey Perlman, Athletic Director Sean Eichhorst, and former head coach and Athletic Director Tom Osborne all voiced their support of Pelini as the head coach at Nebraska. Now, we get to see the reaction. Better yet, hear the reaction of how the 329th consecutive sellout crowd here at Memorial Stadium responds to Bo Pelini and his 2013 Nebraska Cornhuskers. We are all set for Nebraska, playing host to the number 6 ranked team in the FCS, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Big Ten Network football is presented by John Deere. Yes, sellout crowd in a row, number 329. We're happy to have you along with us. Welcome to the broadcast booth here in Lincoln alongside Heisman Trophy winner Eric Crouch, Sean Paul Burmeister. The Nebraska fan base, known as not just in the Big Ten, but really the entire nation as the most loyal, the most passionate fans in the country. How do you think that's been affected this week?
Well, I think the players, for number one, are the one that are hurting bad emotionally. But if you don't think that the fans are hurting emotionally, and I think you're mistaken, because today, coming out on the field for the first time, there was a lot of emotion, a lot of noise, and they're cheering for their home team.
And another former Husker, Damon Benning, on the field right now, live with the head coach, Bo Pelini.
Coach, we'd expect nothing less. The warm embrace, the fans are ready, you're ready. Talk a little bit about the new start for your quarterback today as your team gets ready to take the field.
Well, I did. So, I tried to make light of it with Tommy. I'm sure he's excited and he's going to have those early game jitters, but we have a lot of confidence in him. I think he'll play a great football game for us, and our guys are just excited to be back out here.
Coach, has there ever been such a week where you're just like, I want to get to the game, let's move on?
You just said it. There it is, and here we are. Let's go have some fun.
All right, go get it, Coach.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, Damon and Bo mentioned it's the starting quarterback today because Taylor Martinez has turf toe, will not make that 43rd start of his career. It is Tommy Armstrong Jr. In a normal week, this would be the lead story, but this week it's kind of below the fold.
That's right. I mean, Tommy Armstrong is a fantastic player. We saw in the spring that he can do a lot of things with his arm, but more impressively, I think he's a run-first quarterback, and we're going to see that today. Just got to calm down and go out there and run this offense, execute it, manage it, and play hard.
Eric now has our principal financial edge to the game for the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Well, Nebraska really hasn't got started on all cylinders yet on offense. So this will be an opportunity for them to continue to grow offensively, making big plays on the outside, using their speed and quickness to elude those defenders. The offense as well, you see two quarterbacks could also be playing today. Ron Kellogg here, another dynamic. He brings that calming effect to this offense, so we're going to see him today as well. And you get to the defensive side, it's about having fun, enjoying the game. Those sacks are a lot of fun. Those interceptions for touchdowns, that's what the black shirts are all about. So today, enjoy themselves, have a good time, but more importantly, play as a team.
And time now for a look at impact players. It includes veterans, it includes youth, offense, and also defense, Eric.
Linebacker, he's quick, he fills the run, fantastic. It's going to be a good challenge for him. Quincy Enunwa, big play. 11 times he's been throwing the football, 5 touchdowns. You got to get the ball to him more. Amir Abdullah, the speedster on the outside, but don't forget he is also a power back. He's a big dynamic part of this offense, and I think he's going to complement Tommy Armstrong very well today.
Good story on the South Dakota State sideline. That is John Stiglmeyer in his 17th season as the Jackrabbit head coach. Done a very nice job, too. Winning seasons in 12 of the previous 16 seasons. They enter this game a perfect 3-0 and ranked nationally number 6 in the FCS. If it looks like a perfect day, it sure feels like a perfect day as well. Still a lot of summer in the air, a little bit of feeling for fall, but really this feels more like summer today, Eric. It's probably...
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, you're out here playing a game and you're just enjoying yourself. You're having fun. Another opportunity to prove yourself as a player, a young player, even if you're a junior or senior, just going out there and enjoying this atmosphere, this fan base, this crowd in this game, another opportunity for the whole entire team as well.
There was a little bit of doubt in the air about how many people would turn out today, but we knew it was a 329th consecutive sellout. I looked to the corners of the stadium. I see nothing to red.
Right. I mean, you think about it. There is a reputation that this fan base has across the country, and by seeing that today, obviously that is a good sign for these players.
Kenny Bell from 2 yards deep. Bell has a lane. Just tripped up as he crossed the 30-yard line. Excellent return for Kenny Bell, bringing it out to the 32-yard line. So instead of Taylor Martinez starting for the 43rd time, starting for the very first time, redshirt freshman Tommy Armstrong. We saw him a couple weeks ago against Southern Miss. He's yet to throw a pass in his career, but talking to Bo Pelini yesterday, talked more about his intangibles, a big commanding physical presence, the kind of player everybody has gravitated towards since he got on campus as a freshman a year ago. The situation you were in, Eric, I believe 15 years ago, making your very first start.
In the locker room, the jitters, the nervousness, hitting the restroom many times.
Amir Abdullah hitting the outside into South Dakota State territory, down to the 43-yard line. First play, Abdullah picks up 23 yards.
Well, you see all the pursuit, all that energy, all that pursuit that's going to the right side of the football field, and then Amir Abdullah just putting his foot in the ground and planting across the grain and using his speed and quickness to pick up a first down, and really good start here on offense.
Abdullah over 100 yards the first 2 games. He got 98 last week against UCLA, and on his first 2 carries has a first down on back-to-back carries across the 30. That is a gain of 12. Time now to take a look at today's Auto Owners Insurance starting defense for South Dakota State. Again, they come into the game a perfect 3-0 and ranked number 6, whether you call it 1AA or FCS. This is one of the very best teams in that division. To the air for the first time. 1 for 1 and stretching for the end zone. Amir Abdullah inside the 1-yard line. What a drive already for Amir Abdullah. A couple of big runs and now a reception good for 28 yards.
All right, well, being in this defense here, you knew that they think the Nebraska is going to run the football a little bit more, but they caught a mismatch on the outside. So Amir Abdullah wide open, and no one's covering the running back out of the backfield. So that's going to be interesting who they're going to put on him with his speed today. Will it be an outside linebacker, an inside? Will they bring in a nickel back? Be interesting to see.
First and goal from just inside the 1. The I-back now is Amani Cross. And it's going to be first and goal from the 6.
False start, offense, number 11, 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
Taking a look at Bo Pelini, and we met with him yesterday, Eric. I could tell 5 seconds in, and this is a man I've known for 2 decades now. He was a graduate assistant at Iowa when I was a quarterback there, but I knew the moment he walked into that room what an emotionally difficult week it had been for him. He really was wearing that on his sleeve.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, if you think about not only the effect it has on him, his team, his family, and I think we start talking family, there's some emotion.
Amani Cross with the option pitch into the end zone. Touchdown, Nebraska. perfect way for the offense to start here on a perfect afternoon for football in Lincoln. It couldn't go any better for Bo Pelini, as Amir Abdullah accounts for 65 yards in total offense, and Amani Cross finishes what he started with a touchdown run. Up and in. Tommy Armstrong in his first start on his first drive ends up with a touchdown. The pitch and the touchdown to Cross. It's 7-0 Huskers.
Football on BTN is presented by John Deere, the author of Just Got Rooted. The new Gator XUV 825i S4, now with seating for 4. And brought to you by Case IH. Be ready with the proven leader. Visit caseih.com/efficient power. And by the Principal Financial Group. The Principal Financial Group can help build, grow, and protect your financial future.
Huskers on top of South Dakota State. One drive later, only took 4 plays. They go 66 yards. Amir Abdullah, 2 rushes for 37 yards, a reception for 28 yards. And Amani Cross takes the option pitch from Tommy Armstrong. 5-yard TD, and we're sitting at 7-0. And there's a good look at the man making his first start, the redshirt freshman from Cibola, Texas, Tommy Armstrong.
I really like the play call here, you know, getting 3 plays and taking the pressure off Tommy Armstrong in Amir Abdullah's hands. Take a look at this touchdown here. Here's the pitch man on the outside. And that's where Tommy Armstrong is going to come down the line. He's reading him, but actually a guy comes in and blocks him, and he just uses his athletic ability and saw that no one's going to outflank Amani Cross and pitched him the ball. So kind of a heads-up play, but a great way of showing his athleticism there behind center.
Well, the offense now rests after providing that 7 points and a 7-0 lead. The defense, well, the last time we saw the black shirt D, I think shell shock fits, as UCLA scored 38 unanswered points to come from behind to win 41-21 last week. And this Saturday, at this moment, right now, couldn't come fast enough for this group of defenders. Starting quarterback for South Dakota State, Austin Sumner. Plenty of time, a little bit underthrown, but 1 pass and a first down. That's a Jackrabbit gain of 14. In the backfield for the Jackrabbits, number 31, Zach Zenner with the play action there, and Sumner off to a great start. 2 completions, and South Dakota State into Nebraska territory. That one good for 15.
Right there, Austin Sumner just doing a great job of rolling out to the outside and putting the ball in great position. And Matt Raymond using his body and his positioning out there on the corner to shield off the defender.
Little surprising, the Jackrabbits coming out throwing, because Zach Zenner, number 31, leads the FCS in rushing. There he is with his first carry out to the 40-yard line, picking up 4 yards. Zenner also led the nation in rushing a year ago with over 2,000 rushing yards in 9 100-yard games.
Well, you can tell why Zenner leads the country. You saw that hit and then a gain of about 1.5 yards after contact. So it's his yards after contact where he's so strong.
Averaging 180 yards per game through 3 games. And burst through the middle. There goes Zach Zenner. The leading rusher in FCS has a South Dakota State touchdown.
Wow,
Zach Zenner shocks the Cornhusker faithful.
Doesn't get much simpler than that. Right through the guts of the defense, and a nice read by Sumner. And wow, what speed. I mean, you think he's not a speed guy. He's kind of a guy to bowl you over and pick up those yards, but outrunning the secondary for a touchdown. Pretty impressive.
We thought the Nebraska offense made it look easy with their first drive. But that was a lesson in efficiency and also explosion at the end. Zach Zenner right up the middle, turns on the speed, 40 yards, and an extra point later. We have a tie ball game in Lincoln. who believe in Bo Pelini and Eric Crouch. I believe that is the vast majority of the Nebraska faithful voicing their opinion outside the stadium here today.
Yeah, it's just a phenomenal thing that obviously you know what happened this whole week, and for Bo to get that support, I think, from the program is just huge, and trying to put this thing behind you and just move on and play football, and that's what he's out here doing. He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about coaching these players right now and getting a victory under their belt.
Told us yesterday he's always been good. Little squib kick there by South Dakota State. Nebraska will begin to the 33. Take a look at the scoring drive. Zach Zenner scored on the 40-yard touchdown. Scoring drive brought to you by Chevrolet. And Austin Sumner was 2 for 2, 31 yards. Zenner a couple of rushes for 44 yards. And just like that, South Dakota State matches what Nebraska did on its first drive. And we're all tied at 7. Tommy Armstrong in his second drive here in his first start at Nebraska. Reverse being set up to the veteran wide receiver Kenny Bell. Cuts it back, loses his feet there. Doesn't quite get back to the 35. Somewhere between no gain and a yard there.
I'll tell you what, it's an interesting call right now after what they just did on the field in the first drive is to get the trickery going. And Bell had some blockers out in front of him there, and just wasn't able to hold his feet and get in the ground and cut up the field. But kind of an interesting play call early here.
Empty backfield, 3 wide receivers to the right of Armstrong, a pair to his left. Plenty of time coming across the middle with accuracy, finding Kenny Bell for a first down and a gain of 11. Kenny Bell, leading wide receiver for the Huskers in each of the last 2 years, and enters this game for Bo Pelini as the top receiver for the Husker offense as well.
Well, you've seen Tommy Armstrong run a little option, but right here showing that his arm is a whip, you know, and he can spin it really good. So I'll be prepared to see that today.
Armstrong now 2 for 2, working the option, keeping it himself. And he picks up 3. Former Husker Damon Benning on the sideline. And Damon, tell us what you had learned about, what you discovered about Tommy Armstrong from watching him the last season here. First of all, I guess run the scout team, and then this year work as a backup.
Well, I can tell you what, he's a cool customer. You get the sense that he's got it under control, and Nebraska's got complete confidence in him. When you take a look at, as he looks to the sideline, he's telling everybody man to man on what their assignment is. You get the sense that he's been here and done that before.
Maturity talked about from Bo Pelini and also Tim Beck, and there's some accuracy getting out of his hands quickly, and just like he did a moment ago, finds Kenny Bell for a first down.
One of the things that I think he's going to really bring to the table, guys, is he's going to keep Nebraska on schedule. I don't necessarily call it playing safe, but you won't see he'll stay within himself. He'll do the things that he can do and keep Nebraska on schedule.
And I got the feeling from listening to Bo Pelini and Tim Beck yesterday, their confidence in Armstrong wasn't just because they were facing South Dakota State as we watch him work the play action. And a little deep for Kenny Bell. And just broken up.
Well, I like what they did right here. A couple plays, quick plays, pass plays, just to get Armstrong really feeling comfortable in the pocket. And then taking a shot downtown. Saw the safety in the middle of the field coming up. He's got one-on-one coverage with Kenny Bell. And I think he likes his chances. A nice ball, but Bell just wasn't able to bring that in.
That'll bring up second down 10. Armstrong with the delayed draw and going down right after he got the football, Amir Abdullah. And that'll bring up a third down and long situation. But as for Tommy Armstrong and the confidence I felt from Bo Pelini yesterday, Eric, I got the feeling that they would believe in this guy if they were playing Michigan or Northwestern.
Well, I think they believe in his athletic ability, his talent, and the way that he commands the huddle. And there's just a different, he's got that it factor when you talk about a quarterback. And really what represents Nebraska quarterbacks of the past is that, you know, he can do both. He's a true run quarterback.
Third down 11 now. Jackrabbits with the blitz, and Armstrong putting it up deep down the sideline. Quincy Anunwa been red hot here recently with a gain of 31 on third down 11.
Well, I think he knows the size of Quincy Anunwa and what he can do on the outside versus really any corner or any linebacker. It's a mismatch. He just goes up and gets the football, but credit Tommy Armstrong right here for ball placement. high and outside where only his guy can catch the football. That's a great job by the young quarterback.
Quincy Enunwa already with 5 touchdown catches this year. This is Amani Cross inside the 5-yard line. Strong running and a gain of 8.
Well, you can see now that Nebraska has really backed off this defensive front. And the linebackers, from wondering if they're going to pass or throw the ball, kind of mixing it up quite well here in the first quarter. And Amani Cross, the big barreling type running back, is really tough to bring down. Almost had himself 6 points.
Nice balance so far for the Huskers on 2 drives. Strong running from Amir Abdullah and also Amani Cross. Kenny Bell and Quincy Enunwa involved in the passing game. This is Amani Cross battling, fighting toward that goal line. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Not getting the greatest blocking, some penetration up front, but Amani Cross with his size in the forward lean there and just the stretch of getting the ball across the goal line. You talk about effort, that's a capital E right there.
Amani Cross with a strong first quarter there as the Huskers approach the goal line. He has finished them off both times. Number 32 has 2 Nebraska touchdowns. Still in the first, 8:29 left. Nebraska back on top by 7. Which you can find right outside Memorial Stadium. Inside we have 329 consecutive sellouts, but just outside, as you would expect before the game, all kinds of happy tailgaters, good smells, good food going on, a lot of anticipation for what would happen inside. And look at that site, perfect blue skies, red everywhere. And a lot of reason to stand behind Bo Pelini. If you like Bo Pelini, this is a good week to step up and make a sign. Hold it up in the crowd and let everyone know you are behind the Husker head coach, entering now in his 6th season, coming off a tumultuous week on and also off the field. This is Tom Wright for South Dakota State. Nice return out to the 30-yard line. Return of 24 yards. Bo Pelini in season number 6, and he's done a lot of winning here. Not national championship style winning, but in each of his first 5 years, Nebraska has won either 9 or 10 games. We're off to a 2-1 start here this season.
It really speaks to the whole coaching staff, what they bring to the table, what Bo Pelini brings to the table. I think he knows where they're at as a team moving forward this year, but I think the main concern is their defense and playing fundamentally, tackling sound, making the big hits, filling the run fits, and the things that they need to do to continue to grow this defense.
Austin Sumner is now 3 out of 3, and that's a gain of 5. Today's starters on defense brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance. And the real concern with the defense here, Eric, is the pattern that developed at the end of last year. You go back to the last 2 games a year ago. In the last 5 games, this defense has given up over 500 yards of total offense 4 different times. That's Zach Zenner being stuffed as he tried to go up the middle. He gains 2. And on the first drive, we saw it again as South Dakota State needed only 4 plays to go 75 yards. And Zach Zenner went 40 yards for a touchdown. There's defensive coordinator John Papuchis.
I would be surprised if they run the football right here. You've got the leading rusher in the country. You can pick up 2-3 yards by just falling forward.
3rd down and 2. There's Zenner off the right side. He has it and then some. Zach Zenner is off and running inside the Nebraska 30-yard line. So after a 40-yard touchdown run moments ago, on 3rd and 2, Zenner rumbles for 43.
Well, it's about contain. It's one of those simple fundamentals, not letting anybody outside. And right there, Greg McMullen, the defensive lineman, defensive end, let the play break contain. And when that happens, there's no one out there to help.
Top rusher in FCS a year ago and also the leader right now. Running right through that Nebraska defense. And Austin Sumner with time and working it inside the 5-yard line.
Oh, that was right in front of him.
Sumner to Trevor Typenthaler for 23.
Right, and great protection up front for Sumner. Great job of just sitting in the pocket with poise and waiting for his play to develop. Great catch by the receiver.
And Zach Zenner Just like that, scores again. He has 2 touchdowns, and South Dakota State pulls to within 1. And this is amazing, Eric, considering what we saw a week ago in the second half against UCLA when the Bruins scored the final 38 points of the game. 2 possessions against the defense for Nebraska, 2 rushing touchdowns.
Right, it's a little bit disappointing. I know that for a fact. I know Bo's still concerned on the sideline, obviously. And again, you know, you just have to play your assignments. You have to play the right run fits. You've got to get a little bit more physical. You know, things getting in the face of people and bull rushing them over and all those types of things it takes on defense to make big plays.
Zach Center, 5 carries, 84 yards, and a pair of touchdowns already. Now, the fact that Nebraska is tied with South Dakota State 14-14, all the more concerning when you consider what happened last week on this field against UCLA. The Huskers jumped out to an early 21-3 lead, but it was all downhill from there. It was all Bruins. UCLA steps up big beginning at the end of that second quarter. They score the final 38 points of that game. The defense shell-shocked. The offense didn't score in its final 8 possessions. A 20-point loss. And now a sellout crowd at Memorial Stadium has watched South Dakota State come inside here and go for 146 total yards already and a pair of touchdowns from Zach Center. We're tied at 14. Kenny Bell. Kenny Bell still going inside the 40-yard line. That's a return of 28 yards. Good news for Nebraska, Eric, is that while the defense has struggled, the offense for the Huskers moving just as easily as that South Dakota State offense. 2 possessions that both ended in Amani Cross running touchdowns.
Well, I'm sure they're pretty happy right now with what they're seeing out of their quarterback, Tommy Armstrong, and Amir Abdullah and Amani Cross offensively. Quincy Enunwa getting involved. But here you go, Ron Kellogg stepping in. It's a good point in the game for him to do that.
5th-year senior Ron Kellogg hands off to Amir Abdullah. Nice job there on first down, picking up 8 yards. And Bo Pelini told us yesterday the 5th-year senior would play. It wasn't a matter of how well Tommy Armstrong played. They'd come about this 3rd series, which it is. The 5th-year senior was going to be in there.
Right, they talked about that calming effect that Ron Kellogg had in the huddle for this team. And probably a good time to get him in this game as, you know, they're tied up at 14-14.
Ball's out! And South Dakota State has it. Amir Abdullah put it on the ground and the Jackrabbits pounce on it. R.C. Kilgore with that fumble recovery.
Guys, I'm not a doctor, but I'll play one momentarily. That is either on the shoulder or on the arm of Amir Abdullah. It was shoulder right on the bicep. That's picture perfect tackling. And what I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted by a fumble is don't mistake the efficiency of being able to stay on schedule as an offense. When you don't have losses and you're continuing to make 3 and 4 yards a play, it enables you as an offensive coordinator to play much faster because plays come sequentially and you get a chance to stay on schedule. Nebraska's ability to stay out of the minus plays has really helped this offense as this game's progressed. And then I'll flip over and tell you guys the other thing interesting when South Dakota's on offense, pay attention particularly to the big line splits, really isolating Nebraska defenders, making gap penetration that much more paramount, especially in the backside of the run game.
Amir Abdullah down on the ground moments after he fumbled and South Dakota State recovered. Let's see who made this big hit. Ball's out. We know Kilgore pounced on it.
Well, I'm not so sure that Amir just didn't catch Kilgore out of the corner of his eye. Obviously didn't see that one coming. And tell you what, I saw Quincy Enunwa walk off the sideline with a little bit of a limp as well. So one play, 2 of their premier players banged up pretty bad on the play. That could be costly down the stretch here in this game as it goes kind of a case of tag you're it at this point.
And one of the many positive ways to describe South Dakota State, turnover margin. Coming into this game, #1 in the nation at +11. They're now +12. There's the #1 rusher in FCS again with a South Dakota State first down. He picks up 15.
And here's an opportunity for David Santos to make a one-on-one play. You see Santos right there and just didn't get that side-to-side speed and get in front of Zach Zenner, and force him to go back inside where all of his help is at.
Boy, Zach Zenner came into this game averaging 180 yards per game. He already has 99. We have 5:51 left in the first quarter. We're tied in Lincoln.
Putting a hat in a hole, it's pick and choose for a tailback. Nebraska's got to decide to play a lot more downhill given these big line splits.
Second down 6. Zenner bursts through a hole again. Going to be less than a yard from another first down as he picks up 5.
Guys up outside the numbers and drop another helmet in the box and truly gap South Dakota State. You can go that route as well.
Third down, less than a yard. Zenner off the right side.
Like what we just saw.
And some second effort. He was bottled up right away, then fought for 3. And that'll be a South Dakota State first down.
I think right now it's about positioning, where you position yourself right now as a defender. And Zach Zenner, quite frankly, has the upper hand in positioning and had an opportunity to stop him right there, and then just didn't wrap him up and take his legs out. I mean, he just keeps a continued leg drive.
Right
makes
now,
it difficult.
Right now, he's just playing harder than the University of Nebraska. There's no two ways about it.
Zenner takes a blow. Reggie Gandy in a tailback. He's met in the backfield. And Jean-Baptiste is there. That's a gain of 1.
That's really the answer right there if you're in Nebraska. You're allowing things to be dictated to you, so you have to find a way to change the tempo. Thad Randall, the last one off the ground after almost every play. That's a bad sign when that's your front four, and you got a team in South Dakota State that wants to play fast. Nebraska.
Damon, yeah, you almost wonder right now if the emotional week that they've had, has this really played into how much energy they can bring to this game?
Well, I tell you what, you got to find a way to change tempo, and right now they got to do it on a big play here. It's second and long.
Look at that time for Austin Sumner. South Dakota State making it look easy down to the 12-yard line. That's a gain of 15. Reggie Gandy out of the backfield.
Right there's that old Texas post route with the running back acts like he's going to go to the outside, outflanks the linebacker, and then comes right back inside for the post, and about 5 yards difference from him and the defender. You got to really close this gap and get on some people to be able to back the ball down and make a play.
Gandy up the middle, just across the 10-yard line. Zaire Anderson with a tackle. That's a gain of 2.
Well, quite interesting here on this play. I thought this should have been a pull by the quarterback, but you know what? You're giving it to him. He picks up 5 yards, and the defensive end crashed. You know, you're going to be in trouble if the quarterback decides to pull that. So right now, you just have to show up with more energy, get to the ball faster, get off your blocks as a defender, and start trying to make a play. But don't get worried about doing somebody else's job. Right now, they're in a critical position of this game. They need to do their assignments only.
Something Bo Pelini was not going well last week against UCLA when it started going downhill. This is second down 6. And that's the Nebraska defense stepping up. We do have a penalty marker down.
Open.
Jason Anker there. Valentine there. Corey Cooper as well. We'll take a listen and see what this penalty is all about.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 13. Half the distance to the goal, results in an automatic first down.
Number 13 is Zaire Anderson, so it's going to be first down and goal for South Dakota State.
Guys, from my vantage point, one thing that's disconcerting if you're a Nebraska fan, Nebraska has yet to sub up front on the D-line, but the other thing is Nebraska's breathing much heavier than South Dakota State. A lot of fatigue, especially early on. We're not even out of the first quarter yet. If you're a Husker fan, notice that.
Well, tackling comes down to technique as well, and if you're wrapping up high, you're going to be grabbing the face mask. You're taught to go low, shoot the hips, and go for the legs.
Nebraska brings the blitz. Sumner finds some time. Touchdown, South Dakota State. the tight end. We do have a penalty marker down.
It's going to be offensive pass interference. At least it should be.
Pass interference, offense, number 83, 15-yard penalty, repeat, first down.
Number 83 is wide receiver Jason Schneider. Just saw the head coach for South Dakota State on the sideline, John Stiegelmeier. He is used to success. 17th season. He's had a winning season there, 12 out of 16. They made the playoffs in the FCS a year ago, and right now ranked number 6 in the FCS, and that high ranking coming to life here in the first quarter inside a sold-out Memorial Stadium. First down and goal from the 19. Going to push it back 5 more yards.
Ball start, offense, number 63, 5-yard penalty, it remains first down.
Now it'll be first down and goal from the 24-yard line. Penalty flags there are coming in here to stop the bleeding for this black shirt defense so far.
Yeah, it's something you don't want to put your hat on, though, having penalties, but coming out playing sound football, and I think it's imperative to Nebraska right at this point, keep South Dakota State out of the end zone.
Zenner inside again, finding success. He continues to gash the front 7 of Nebraska. Zenner picks up 12 yards. He now has 123 rushing yards already.
And what's so good about Zenner is that first step, he is upfield. He's not a side-to-side runner. That's why he gains yards so quickly. It's because he is a straight-ahead runner. He's not going to go side-to-side and try to run around somebody. He's going to try to run through somebody.
Second down goal from the 12. To the air, Sumner dropped by David Santos on the linebacker blitz. Loss of 10.
Very nice job of David Santos getting to the quarterback and making the tackle. This was a huge play coming up, but just when they needed it, when they dialed it up, they got a big play out of their middle linebacker. Exactly what they needed right now in this drive.
First negative play provided by that Nebraska defense. Austin Sumner sacked for the loss of 10 to bring up third and goal from the 20. Sumner right now a perfect 5 out of 5 for 78 yards. Flushed out of the pocket, Avery Moss. Randy Gregory, both of the bookends there, combined for the sack and a loss of 11.
I'll tell you what they were trying to do right there. Sumner was just waiting all day for Zach Zenner to come open. And what a great job of the defensive coverage on him. And he was just waiting and waiting for him to put a move. Thought he was going to be open. And you'll see it right here. You see 31, Zenner. He goes up on Santos, tries to make a move, but Santos on him like a blanket. And that just buys a little extra time. And Randy Gregory and Avery Moss right there putting pressure on the quarterback.
Timeout called South Dakota State, and Bo Pelini had to like what he saw finally in those last 2 plays. Back-to-back sacks, first by David Santos, then combined Avery Moss and Randy Gregory, and that's 2 plays in a row.
Here's Santos
combined
right
loss
here.
of 21.
You see him, he's on Zenner. He kind of comes out of the screen, but he was on him and he was eyeing him down. And he just didn't have enough time. Great pass rush, getting to the quarterback, getting in his face. Not just letting him throw the ball and step up and make these throws like it was earlier in that first quarter. Like it was earlier this quarter, almost getting close to the end. But I tell you what, you cannot let that happen. Defense has got to make these plays.
Nebraska, as you would expect, lots of success against FCS teams here recently. Big-time success, really the only close game going back 3 years ago to this very team. South Dakota State came in September of 2010, gave them a tough game. Nebraska pulled ahead late and won 17-3. Justin Siravatka, kicker for South Dakota State. Earlier this season, 14 consecutive field goals. That's a school record. Made his last 12 last year, his first 2 this year. And he is now 3 for 3 this season. 5 seconds left in the first quarter. South Dakota State leading Nebraska 17-14. The scoreboard says South Dakota State has been the better team, but watching on the field, this offense until those last 2 plays, the 2 consecutive sacks, not only hadn't been stopped, but they hadn't been slowed.
They really haven't, and that's just a credit to how they've come out and taken charge in this football game early. And I can feel a little bit of shift in momentum right here, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens offensively for Nebraska on this next drive. Who's going to be in at quarterback? Who's going to be their running back? Will Quincy Enunwa as well be on the field?
BTN goes wherever you want it with BTN to go, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Watch every game on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. BTN to go is now available to all major subscribers who receive BTN through their cable, satellite, or video providers. To learn more, visit btntogo.com. Also available in the App Store and on Google Play. Zach Zenner has been the star so far for the Jackrabbits. 10 carries, 123 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. Tommy Armstrong is quarterback 2 series here for Nebraska. Ron Kellogg, the last that ended in a fumble by Amir Abdullah that was recovered by the Jackrabbits. And we'll see who trots out now with 5 seconds left in the first quarter.
I think in this position right now, I think you got to get Tommy Armstrong in the game and get him back in there and get him feeling good on all cylinders. It looks like he might be back in.
It's actually Ron Kellogg going right to the air. Quincy Enunwa, nice catch, nice moves. And the final play of the first quarter ends with a Nebraska gain of 7. That's Kellogg, the 5th-year senior, to Quincy Enunwa. Well, what a first quarter for Bo Pelini and his Nebraska Cornhuskers, and really what a first quarter for John Stiegelmeier and his South Dakota State Jackrabbits. We head to the second, 17-14, South Dakota State on top. Now the scene outside Memorial Stadium here in Lincoln, a little more appetizing than what's happened inside in the first quarter for Huskers fans. Perfect day at pregame, low 70s, no humidity, perfect skies, good day to grill. It's also been a good day for South Dakota State. The number 6 team in FCS enters the second quarter, leading Nebraska 17-14. Jackrabbit defense stepping up right there. And that's no gain. In that first quarter, the Jackrabbits 186 yards of total offense, and Nebraska with 158. At quarterback, Taylor Martinez did not start today. Turf toe prevented him from making that 43rd start. Tommy Armstrong got the start, but this is 5th-year senior Ron Kellogg playing for the 2nd consecutive series. And that's Amani Cross fighting for tough yardage inside and picking up 8 yards.
And you get the sense Nebraska could do this at will with the downhill running game. Little dose of what they've been seeing on the defensive side. Getting skinny through the crease. You know, Amani's just a heavy runner. Eventually, as the game wears on, that's got to pay dividends.
Look there, Taylor Martinez, NCAA active leader in rushing yards, sitting this one out with turf toe. Ron Kellogg looking deeper. Quincy Enunwa. Late penalty marker comes in. Going to have pass interference against the Jackrabbits.
Pass interference, defense, number 14, 15-yard penalty, results in automatic first down.
That's the only defensive captain for South Dakota State, Winston Wright.
Well, when you get beat off the line, your last resort really is to put a hand on his body to stop the big play from happening, and really a nicely placed ball by Ron Kellogg. But again, you think about how big of a play it is to stop that. Probably the smartest thing to do.
Kellogg gives to Abdullah, cuts it back. Tripped up before he went to the 35-yard line. He picks up 6. Ron Kellogg is what every program has, what you call a program kid. Started as a walk-on, Good teammate, hard worker, trusted the entire time he's been here. Didn't play at all, though, his first 3 years. Was the top backup last year, played in 4 games. Earned a scholarship this offseason, and seeing his most extensive time here today. Abdullah showing the speed off the right side. First down, Nebraska. Amir Abdullah picks up 13 yards. He continues the successful start to his day.
Here, this is what Nebraska's offense does. You know, throw it deep, bring those linebackers and guys off you, and then you give it to a speed guy on the outside. And nice job of Amir just using his speed, his quickness to get up the field. Looks like he's feeling pretty good right now.
100-yard games in the first 2 games, then went for 98 last week. Kellogg steps up and fires. Jake Long inside the 10-yard line. First down, Huskers. Kellogg to Long for 17.
Well, this isn't the thing that's not easy to do right here. You're riding the fake, and then you got to set your feet quickly and throw the football. And Ron Kellogg throwing a perfect laser right to Jake Long, the tight end, and getting himself in this red zone territory.
First and goal. This is Abdullah. Down to the 1-yard line. Gain of 4. The Bo Pelini's offense has been moving just as well as the South Dakota State offense. They had the 1 turnover, the fumble on the last drive, and remember, South Dakota State plus 12 now in the turnover game, but Nebraska knocking on the door. Amir Abdullah, touchdown Huskers.
That play is huge for a couple reasons. 1, you get the lead back, but 2, you get the opportunity to build confidence in both quarterbacks that can go down the field and score points for your offense. And I'll tell you what, I was a little bit surprised that they didn't have Tommy Armstrong come in, knowing that he was the one that won during practice. There was a battle at the quarterback position all week long, and they went with Tommy Armstrong. And when you're down, you would have thought that they would have put him in the game. So their confidence is very high right now in both quarterbacks, as you see.
Pat Smith pushes the Nebraska lead to 21-17. Amani Cross has a pair of touchdowns, and Amir Abdullah has 1. Time now for today's Marine Corps leader. He is Brent Qualley. What a standout on and off the field, in the classroom. The senior offensive tackle, 2-time academic All-Big Ten. Already graduated, did so in May of this year, finishing his undergrad work with a 3.63 cumulative grade point average. 12:30 left in the second quarter. Amir Abdullah just scored from a yard out, and Nebraska retakes the lead at 21-17. Nebraska goes 8 plays, 75 yards. The touchdown from Amir Abdullah.
We see right here Spencer Long, Jake Long. Here's the guys you want to see make the big blocks. 61's going to pull across. 41's on him. Long doing a good job. It just opens up that hole. Nebraska shows a lot of different misdirections, but whenever they pull a guard, Spencer Long is out there to wreak havoc. Great player, very physical player. Really nice guy for any running back to run behind.
It would be nice for Bo Pelini to see his defense step up and make a stop. They have yet to do that today. 3 possessions, 3 scores for South Dakota State. 2 Zach Zenner touchdowns, then a field goal. And that's how it's 21-17. Austin Sumner in his 24th career start, yet to throw an incompletion. He's a perfect 5 for 5. There's Zenner getting more yards. Another jackrabbit first down. Finally brought down by Jackson, but he picks up 16 yards.
Well, there's obviously the continued frustration right now of missed tackles. Opportunity to wrap Zenner up and get around his legs and just not been able to do that. And you see at the end of the play right there, Harvey Jackson, he's upset. He's saying, where's my help?
You can look on paper and see that Nebraska in that defense either 11th or 12th in the Big Ten in rush defense, total defense, and scoring defense. What we've seen through a little over first quarter, you can see why. First down and 10 from the 42. There's Zenner again, defensive end. Jason Ankra there. And Zenner picks up 3.
I really don't expect them to do anything else right now. They feel like they can control the line of scrimmage, control Nebraska's defensive front, control the linebackers, and it's exactly what they're going to do. That's South Dakota State's personality. They want to run the football, and right now they're having their way with Nebraska.
Zenner had 9 100-yard rushing games last year. He already has 4 over 100 yards today as he approaches midfield. And Zenner now with 13 carries for 147 yards.
Well, Zenner's speed is a little bit salty. I mean, it's hard to, you got Avery Moss right there wondering if he's going to take the quarterback or not, but if I'm Avery Moss right now, my eyes are going to be a little bit more tuned in on Mr. Zenner and what he's been able to do so far in this game right there, 148 rushing yards.
3rd down and 2. Huskers bring the blitz. Sumner with time, looking outside, not even close. Lucky that wasn't picked, and that was his first incompletion of the afternoon to bring up 4th down and 2.
Well, that's exactly what the defense needed. They needed a big play. They needed a big stop. They brought some pressure. Had them in a situation where I thought maybe they thought they were going to run the football. They brought that blitz, and great one-on-one coverage by Nebraska outside. People running with their receivers, not letting anybody run free, doing their assignment-driven jobs.
Defense and John Papuchis coming up with its first stop of the afternoon. Jordan Westerkamp back to receive the punt. And that one just crawling into the end zone. Nice effort by the Jackrabbit special teams. So 10:32 left in the second quarter. Nebraska leading 21-17 will look to increase that cushion right after this. Stay tuned at halftime for the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. Dave Howard and Coach DiNardo have you covered. Big afternoons already for the Buckeyes and the Hawkeyes, and a big one coming up for Michigan State, playing the Irish in South Bend. That's all coming up at halftime, which is 10 minutes and 32 seconds away. Tommy Armstrong back in after Ron Kellogg led the last 2 series. Armstrong keeping it himself. That'll be a Husker first down. Good hard running, picking up 14 yards.
Right there, you saw the determination of Tommy Armstrong. His first play back in the game. This might have been a predetermined quarterback play for him, but he just takes it up the field, uses his speed, and a little bit of a pop at the end and try to finish off the run.
Nebraska over 100 yards rushing now with 118. To the air goes Armstrong. Nice job by Quincy Anunwa. The catch, and he picks up 10 yards. Anunwa already with 5 receiving touchdowns this year.
Another encouraging thing to see out of your freshman quarterback is to watch him throw on the run with accuracy, and that's exactly what he did right there.
Actually was a gain of 8. Armstrong keeps it himself. Don't know if that was a plan or not, but I do know that's a Nebraska first down. Out to the 47-yard line, Armstrong picks up 6. Tommy Armstrong, highly successful dual-threat quarterback out of Cebulo High School, or Steele High School in Cebulo, Texas. We see the running skills right there. He led his team to the Texas State Championship game in his junior and senior seasons. They won that state title his junior year. Amir Abdullah. We have a helmet off. It's going to be a penalty against South Dakota State as Abdullah picks up 5.
Might get illegal hands to the face somehow. Usually that's what happens. Oh, he played with it off. Okay, he played with it off.
93 Chase Douglas, by rule, has to leave the field for at least 1 play after losing his helmet.
He's really trying to man up right there.
There's no foul on the play for participating after the helmet came off. That was part of the immediate continuing action. No foul. 3rd down.
Really looks like it just got popped off when he had contact at the line of scrimmage, and I think he's got the right to go in there and try to make that play. It's coming kind of his way.
Abdullah right up the middle, close to another Husker first down. Picks up 5 yards. He is the leading rusher for the Huskers so far. That was his 12th carry of the game. And that is a first down, Nebraska. Huskers trailed 17-14 until the last drive. Ron Kellogg let him down. Abdullah scored from a yard out. Moments ago, the Husker defense coming up with the first stop of the day. And now Nebraska leading by 4, looking to score again. Tommy Armstrong going up top to Kenny Bell. Couldn't quite haul it in. That was a pretty looking pass from Armstrong. But Bell lost that one just as he went to the ground. And Bell remains down in the end zone.
Pretty physical game here. You've seen a lot of players on the ground. Amir earlier in the game, and now Kenny Bell. Quincy Enunwa walked off with a limp. Came back in the game, made a big play.
What a touchdown reception that would have been for Kenny Bell. Obviously would have been 6 points. It also would have been the 100th career reception for the junior out of Fairview High School in Boulder, Colorado.
This is an important drive for Nebraska.
Kenny Bell, the leading wide receiver for Nebraska the last 2 seasons, also the leading wide receiver for the Huskers coming into this game. And Bo Pelini coming out to check on his top wideout as we take another look as Tommy Armstrong put it right in there.
Really like what Tommy Armstrong does in the throwing game. Gives the ball some air, and by doing that gives his receiver Kenny Bell the opportunity to go find it. And that's exactly what happened here at the end. The ball was thrown a little bit inside, but far enough and high enough to where Kenny Bell has an opportunity to make a touchdown there and get that ball in. But
I watched that pass float in there perfectly, Eric. I think back to Bo Pelini telling us yesterday what an improved passer Tommy Armstrong has been, and that's really why he won the open competition this week with Ron Kellogg. He said his passing has just gotten so much better.
Yeah, and just the comfort level that he brought to practice and making those throws and those reads, and really that calming effect during the week of practice, not knowing who's going to start. But if you're in that tough situation, that back and forth with a quarterback competition brewing for the week, and you can come out ahead, it says a lot about your ability to go in there, call the plays in the huddle, and actually translate that over to the football game. We've seen him throw the ball very, very well today.
There's Taylor Martinez, and this is not a normal sight to see him on the sideline in street clothes after he started 42 games here. Turf toe keeping him out of this one. He'll get an off week with the bye week next week. Illinois is here the first Saturday in October. Armstrong with a pocket to step into, and he did not have an open receiver there in Jamal Turner. Thankfully, he overthrew Turner by about 7 or 8 yards. Otherwise, that one would have been picked.
Well, he had some deep coverage, and you know as well as I do that anytime you go late down the field with deep coverage, it's a no-no. And what he's got to do is come off and come down to his running back or a comeback route on the outside, or his second progression has got to be seen. And that's one thing in a young quarterback that he needs to work on.
3rd down and 10. A reminder that South Dakota State, 9 interceptions. They lead the FCS in that category so far this year. Armstrong not picked. He finds Quincy Enunwa right at the sticks. He'll have enough for a first down. Gain a little over 10 yards. First down, Nebraska.
Well, they didn't bring the pressure. They just brought the front 4. And Tommy Armstrong doing a tremendous job of just standing in the pocket, finding the open guy, and then credit Quincy Enunwa for that extra effort to get the sticks moving.
Enunwa, the leading receiver for Armstrong so far today, as it's first down and 10 on the 31. Abdullah spinning. But the Jackrabbit defense there to corral him after he picks up 5.
Well, Amir is one of those running backs that he can run straight ahead. He can run side to side. He's pretty powerful. But I'll tell you what, anytime you try to put that spin move on, you lose vision of the field. And that's exactly what happened. He's kind of turning his back. You take a big shot, big helmet to the back, and that can be very, very painful.
2nd down, 6. Armstrong keeps it himself. That's the Nebraska first down to the 16-yard line. Tommy Armstrong picks up 12.
Tommy Tommy Armstrong not afraid to pull the ball right here. Watch the defensive end on the read, made the right keys. With speed, agility, right up the football field, and South Dakota State's got to find a way to stop that. Might start seeing a little bit more pressure out of them, or maybe some stunts, twists, the linebackers and defensive ends to try to fool Tommy Armstrong.
To the air on first down, nice pockets. And a touchdown at Nebraska. Sam Birch from 16 yards out. Tommy Armstrong has been impressive in his first start. 7 out of 10, now 117 yards. And the first passing touchdown of his Nebraska career. Gives Nebraska its biggest lead of the first half. Armstrong to Birch, and Nebraska leads 28-17.
Taking another look at this touchdown right here. Here's the route concept. The middle of the field is open, and they're just going to try to put pressure on this safety right here on the top of your screen. Middle of the field is open, puts pressure on the safety. He comes in and bites just enough for Sam Birch to really outflank him, and what a beautiful pass again by Tommy Armstrong, putting it in the right place at the right time. He's got to be feeling pretty good about the way he's throwing the football, and I'm sure Tim Beck is feeling pretty excited as well.
All kinds of offense the fans have seen here today. 329th consecutive sellout. 90,000 plus. We are now over 500 yards of total offense combined. And 48 points as the Huskers lead 28-17. For an injury update on Kenny Bell, let's check in with Damon Benning.
Guys, a couple of quick things. Kenny Bell is okay. Got the wind knocked out of him right underneath his rib cage. And then, listening to Coach Brown over on South Dakota State side, it's kind of what we talked about earlier. It's too easy, guys, is what he's telling the Jackrabbits. Nebraska's able to stay on schedule. If you count the number of minus plays, Nebraska's had very few. And when you're Coach Beck, you script 1st and 10, 2nd and medium, 2nd and short, 3rd and short. It's real easy to read when Nebraska has the minus yards to a minimum.
And Damon, they've got a nice balance on the Nebraska offense right now. Amir Abdullah, 13 carries, 88 yards. Armstrong, 7 out of 10. As for the Jackrabbits, who are about to take over on offense, their quarterback, Austin Sumner, very efficient so far, 5 out of 6 for 78 yards. And Zach Zenner is the player of the game so far. 13 carries, 148 yards for the #1 rusher in the FCS. This is Reggie Gandy in for Zenner. Nebraska offense, they're in mass to keep him to a gain of 2.
Good stop there. We had a talk with defensive coordinator John Papuchis. He talked about the players that are improving. Avery Mosh, he's showing consistent improvement. Stanley Jean-Baptiste as well. So there's a little bit of fear out there defensively. They really need to play together, make some stops, and play physical football. And that's what they're watching. The coaches want to know if they're going to be able to make this happen. Big game right now. A lot is on the line.
2nd down, 7. Jackrabbits already with 135 rushing yards to the air. Sumner with a completion. Finding Cam Jones, picks up 8 yards. And that's a Jackrabbit first down.
And here's what I see. He just gets outflanked, Harvey Jackson. And here's an opportunity, too. You know, you don't wrap him up. You don't tackle him. You're up high on his shoulder pads. You know he's running out of bounds. You got an opportunity to get low on him and work on your pad level. This is the time to do that. Those are things that you're seeing right there are showing the signs of weakness where Nebraska really has to get better. And they've got to do it right here on Saturday when it counts.
That was Jason Schneider with the first down reception for the Jackrabbits. Sumner again to the air. That ball was tipped at the line, but again it is Schneider, and he has 6 yards. Sumner now 7 for 8, and you look at his numbers, what he has done here recently. He's a veteran quarterback, 24th start here. We are used to seeing him take care of the football. He's yet to throw an interception this year. In the last 5 games last year, he only threw 1. 1 pick in the last 8 games, and in that time he's thrown 10 touchdowns. John Stiegelmeier, reason to believe in his quarterback here on 2nd down 2. Reggie Gandy splits out wide, empty backfield. Sumner looking underneath, and he has that one picked off. Stanley Jean-Baptiste has his 4th interception of the season. Takes it back 15 yards.
He ran that route for him.
One could say I hexed Austin Sumner, saying he hadn't thrown a pick all year and 1 in his last 8 games.
Just a little bit, but I think this is a great job of watching the film, seeing what this team does when they go to empty backs. And then right there, Stanley Jean-Baptiste reading the eyes of Sumner, and Sumner really not doing a great job of going to the other read. Stanley Jean-Baptiste, just the speed and quickness and his instinct to get there. Big play.
Ron Kellogg, the quarterback, Amani Cross with the football. Huskers finding a lot of success on the ground. He picks up right at 10 yards. Going to be 2nd down and less than a yard.
Well, I think this is a critical part in the game right now for Nebraska to really get in the end zone, feel comfortable with the lead that they have, but start to stack it on. So right now, critical time.
Kellogg to the air, looking to the end zone. Touchdown, Huskers! Tyler Woolenweber from 23 yards out. Redshirt sophomore from Utica, Nebraska, has his 1st career touchdown. Ron Kellogg has his 1st career touchdown pass. Pat Smith on to attempt the extra points. He's got it, and it was just 17-14 Jackrabbits. Nebraska on a 21-0 run to lead 35-17 with 4:16 left.
You talk about pouring it on right now, the opportunity that Nebraska had to get that in the end zone. It's a must opportunity for them to do that. And Ron Kellogg sitting in the pocket, delivering a rifle, stepping into his throw, and Woolenweber going up and snapping that ball and working his guy on the outside to try to gain a little bit of distance. And that's exactly what he did. He just straight up beat his guy, and his defender was late getting to the ball. I'll tell you what, Tim Beck has got to be pleased right now with both the play of Tommy Armstrong and Ron Kellogg at this point in the game.
The two have combined to go 10 out of 13 for 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. 2 plays, all the Husker offense needed there after Stanley Jean-Baptiste came up with the interception of Austin Sumner. We're now even in the turnover game. The South Dakota State recovered a Nebraska fumble in the 1st quarter. Pardon me, in the 2nd quarter. And now the black shirt D has a pick as well. First 3 South Dakota State possessions all led to points, a pair of touchdowns and a field goal. And now as the 2nd quarter has moved on, the black shirt defense stepping up, allowing Nebraska to go on this 21-0 run.
Right here you see Woolenweber just flanked to the outside and has his man leveraged. And that's exactly what happened there. But I tell you what, I got to credit the throw right there. Ron Kellogg just delivering a rifle, reading that there was nobody in the middle of the field, was able to make a great read, to deliver a great throw. Very nice execution on that pass play.
Austin Sumner now back in, the junior, moments after tossing an interception, and his top tailback Zach Zenner is in with him. Zenner with the football again up the middle for yards. They've yet to slow down Zenner. He has 10 yards and another Jackrabbit 1st down.
Hey Damon, we've got a little bit of scoring going on by Nebraska. A comfortable lead. Are you seeing anything about the attitude down there on the sideline?
No, it's different. It depends on which side of the ball you're talking about. On offense, very calm, very cool, very collected. defense has been in front of the dry erase board for quite a bit, but it's not real rocket science right now. Nebraska's got to get better between the ends if they want to stop this running game.
Zenner has 14 carries for 158 yards. Came into this game as the top rusher in FCS, averaging 180 per game. And he picks up 5. It's not bad when you're picking up 5 yards and you can say, well, he's hurting his average by picking up 5 yards.
It happens so fast. I mean, you sit there and you look at that play, and that's got to be the defensive end in a bind. But, man, I tell you what, Zenner right there taking charge and just getting up the field. Like we said, he's not a side-to-side guy. I mean, obviously 15 rushes, 164 yards. I mean, you've seen him break it through the middle. So, tell you, 5 yards, but a good job of tackling him at 5 yards.
It's one thing to go for 295 yards against North Dakota, another to be well over 100 in the first half against the Huskers. And how about catching the ball out of the backfield? Zach Zenner well into Husker territory. And it'll be first down and 10, South Dakota State inside the 40-yard line.
It just looked like right here somebody dropped Zach Zenner and totally forgot about him in the passing game, and they just got outflanked again. Got to the outside. I think peeking inside on the run game. You saw Santos right there again. Cannot let Zach Zenner outflank him in this game. He does have some speed, and he's a very smart player.
The junior out of Eagan, Minnesota, approaching 200 yards of total offense for his afternoon. Sumner over the middle. That's another Jackrabbit first down. Nice mix on this drive with a run and the pass. That's a gain of 12.
Nice job right there by Austin Sumner, just recognizing that the linebacker was in this line of scrimmage, and he had the easy, quick slant route over the top of him when he showed blitz.
Brandon Hubert, the senior, hauls that one in, and it's now first and 10 from the 26. Look at the time for Sumner coming underneath. Completes to Cam Jones, his tight end. And that's a gain of 3. It's a pattern here that's unfortunate for that black shirt defense, Eric, and that's plenty of time in the pocket for Sumner.
Yeah, you should look at the outside, trying to stop the run game, just not right there, not where they need to be. And in the passing game, playing a little bit off, almost 8 yards off on the corners. And you see out here, he's lined up. He's about 8 yards off, and you almost wonder if they're going to tell him to get in the face of these receivers and try to mess them up man on man.
Huskers bring 4 again. They don't get to him. Nice hits on the defense there. Stanley Jean-Baptiste. A possession after he had an interception. A big hit to knock the ball loose. Not a fumble, though, just an incomplete pass.
Well, that's a smart play because he did have man on the outside as well. And when he saw the 3-step drop and the quarterback delivered the football, he just came off his guy and to try to deliver the blow to create a turnover. It's exactly what Nebraska needs right now is a turnover.
3rd down and 6, normally a blitz situation. We'll see how much heat they put on Austin Sumner, who so far having a great afternoon. 10 out of 13. Here comes the pressure. And down goes Sumner. Corey Cooper in from his safety spot. The leading tackler for the Black Shirts defense. That's a loss of 7.
Yeah, and Sumner right there, he's just upset because he knows right here he had a receiver open. A nice job right there by Corey Cooper. Coming in from the outside and wrapping him up. That's a big play right there because they did have a receiver open on the corner route. That in and out zone coverage that they were trying to do. I think they were trying to have bracket coverage on the outside, and they let the receiver slip through on a corner. He wishes he could have had that one back, but credit Nebraska's defense on there for showing a different look, getting a nice blitz package involved, and getting to the quarterback and taking him down.
Huskers have called a timeout. We invite you on weeknights to join the conversation on BTN Live. It is the most comprehensive nightly college football discussion from the guys who love to talk about the game. BTN Live, weeknight, 6 o'clock Eastern on the Big Ten Network. South Dakota State led at one point, 17-14. Led by their All-American running back, Zach Zenner. who has 164 yards rushing, but back comes the Nebraska offense, helped by some stops from the defense. A 21-0 run has Nebraska on top 35-17 with $1:35 left until halftime. And on 4th down and 13, the Jackrabbits going for it. Whistles just before the ball was snapped. And that's another timeout.
Nebraska calls their final timeout. This will be a 30-second timeout.
But 4th and 13. You surprised to see him go for it here?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to lose. I think they're looking for a big play, and they're the type of team that's not going to just turn over and you know, lay down for them. And this is a personality of a team that fights, and they're used to winning football games.
Yes, they are. There you see the head coach, John Stiglmeier's 17th season at South Dakota State. Winning seasons 12 out of those 16. Coaching at his alma mater. Been there for a long time. 17th year, as I mentioned, but prior to that, he was the defensive coordinator for 6 years. Guy who has a whole lot of personal investment in his program. You got to be proud of the way his team is playing today. Traded scores with Nebraska early. Led 17-14, and Nebraska had been hot here recently, offense and defense, to be up 35-17. This is a 4th down and 13 situation.
Nebraska's had good luck and they've brought pressure. It'll be interesting to see what they do right here.
They bring 4, Sumner to the sideline. And that's going to be right at the sticks. Jason Schneider with the reception. Looks like he's about a half a yard short.
Well, Nebraska getting comfortable in that bracket cover 2, the 2 high safeties. This is a nice read right here by Sumner, just taking what the defense gives you. And I think he's going to be out of bounds well short of that first down marker.
Stanley Jean-Baptiste, who had the interception earlier in this quarter. You could say it was soft coverage, but he made the play that turned the ball back over to his offense.
Great job of getting the football back and giving your offense another opportunity here to drive the football down the field.
Kellogg back into quarterback. Minute 29 left, no timeouts left. How are you handling this series here, Aaron?
I tell you what, I think it's an opportunity right now. They've got a pretty decent lead. They don't need to go outside.
Is challenging the spot in relation to the line of game. We will have a review.
South Dakota State head coach John Stiglmeier using his challenge flag, and he's not so sure that upon closer review his team won't have a first down.
Well, look, it's the right thing to do right here is challenge this play right now. Nothing else to lose, but I thought the ball had crossed that out of bounds plane. Get another look at it here.
And remember, it's where is that football in relation to the first down marker when any part of him goes out of bounds. Jason Schneider, the wide receiver, catches it, lunges at the end.
I think the first down marker's out right about here. And if you see, the ball just doesn't, I don't know if the nose gets there or not. I'm pretty sure that's going to be short. I don't think there's going to be enough. We talk about video evidence is the key word to overturn the call on the field.
So as they discuss what they're seeing on this challenge, a little review here of what's happened so far. You see the score there, 35-17. For the Jackrabbit offense, Zach Zenner has 164 yards rushing. Austin Sumner, the quarterback, is 11 for 14. We've had 2 quarterbacks playing for Nebraska, Tommy Armstrong and Ron Kellogg, rotating back and forth as Taylor Martinez sitting this one out with a turf toe. They've combined to go 10 out of 13. Each have a touchdown, or each has a touchdown toss. No interceptions.
Well, even if they did review and found a different spot, it looks like they've already moved the chains. So I'm not sure what that would do as far as respotting the football.
After further review, the play stands as called. Turnover, Nebraska first down.
Just tough to get a look that made you think it wasn't what we saw, or wasn't what they called on the field.
Well, maybe he was seeing something. I know they're right there on the sideline, and they got a good angle of it. Maybe thought that, hey, it was worth a try, but obviously not enough.
So no timeouts left, 1:29 left. And the fifth-year senior Ron Kellogg already 3 for 3. And the inside give on the delayed draw to Amir Abdullah. Slashes his way for a gain of 9. Keep in mind, no timeouts here, so he'll be right up to the line of scrimmage quickly.
Nice play call. Nice job of Kellogg using his eyes, looking downfield, getting those backers to shoot out, and then hand the ball off to Amir.
Kellogg working it down the middle, putting it right on the money. Inside of South Dakota State territory goes Ethan Carter for a gain of 26.
Looks like they're going tempo here. They're going to try to score some points. They're not going to let this minute 15 that's left on the clock worry them.
Now about 12 yards away from field goal range, so Kellogg has them on the move. Again with time underneath to Abdullah. He's down to the 39-yard line, picks up 6.
Nice play by Kellogg. If you don't have anything outside, down deep, your first progression, look for Amir. He's a guy that you get the ball to. He can shake loose and cut it for a big play.
Kellogg working out of a nice pocket again. Another good decision to his back. Abdullah, first down to the 30-yard line, picks up 10. I like the patience. You can tell he knows they need to be in a hurry, but he's not hitting the panic button at all.
No, not at all. He's like Coach said before. He comes in, he calms everybody down, and right now you can tell that he's having that effect on this offense as they drive the ball down the field.
Just standing in, firing strikes. This is Woolenweber, had a touchdown a moment ago, and he's now inside the 10. Kellogg to Woolenweber for a gain of 25. It also stops the clock.
What I see on this play, tremendous anticipation by Ron Kellogg. Sets his feet. He throws the ball where it looks like he's throwing it right at the defender, knowing that Woolenweber is running that speed in. And when you run that speed in, you really have to put the ball in front of your receivers. And you saw the stickiness right there of Woolenweber's hands to bring that ball in and run with it.
First down and goal from the 6-yard line. Kellogg to throw again, keeps it himself. And he's met just as he gets to the 5-yard line. Now, no timeouts. They're going to have to hustle up here and kill the clock. And that'll bring up third down and goal. Clock stops with 10 seconds left. Kellogg done a great job of moving this team with no timeouts. They've gone 79 yards in 7 plays.
Well, I think that shows the confidence right now that they have in the way that this offense moves the football. I don't think Tim Beck went and pulled the other playbook out of his other pocket. I think what he did is he called the game plan knowing what their defense is giving them, and he let these young kids go out. Ron Kellogg, a senior, Armstrong, a freshman, go out and run his offense. And right now, because of that, they're going to be able to put points on the board before half.
Couple of checkdowns to Abdullah on this drive. Over the middle to his tight end, Ethan Carter. Woolenweber with the big gain of 25 to set him up here close to the goal line. Kellogg working the fade pass. It was actually a corner to Jamal Turner, the former high school quarterback. He couldn't hang on. 4th down and goal, 5 seconds left.
I really like the call here. Get Jamal Turner, the speed guy on the outside. See if you can get the corner to sink in. And he had him beat. He had about 1.5 yards on him. It's all you need. But just wasn't able to jump up high enough and grab that football.
Taylor Martinez on the sideline. Credit to South Dakota defensive back Dallas Brown getting a hand in there late. And Bondi on to attempt the field goal. He's got it, and that's how the first half comes to a close. Quite a scare South Dakota State put into these Huskers at home. 329 consecutive sellouts. At one point, the Jackrabbits led 17-14. Bo Pelini goes to the locker room after his team went on a 24-0 run to end this second quarter. We head to halftime with the Huskers on top 38-17. After the break, we look forward to the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report.
Football on BTN is brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance. Protect what matters most with an Auto Owners Insurance independent agent. Find yours at AutoOwnersInsurance.com.
.329 consecutive sellouts. This one coming on a perfect afternoon in Lincoln, and it got off to a rough start for Huskers as South Dakota State led 17-14, but we are ready to start the third quarter with the Huskers on top 38-17. Time now for our Quicken Loans quarterback comparison.
And I think what's alarming that sticks out, it's not written on here, but usually down right here, you see turnovers. And what these two quarterbacks have been able to do, a young quarterback in Tommy Armstrong, an inexperienced quarterback in Ron Kellogg, is protect the football. And I think that is so huge as they get into this second half of what we've seen them do in the first half of this football game.
A lot of impressive parts to the stat lines combined there, but you pointed out 18 attempts and 0 interceptions combined there for Tommy Armstrong and Ron Kellogg. Tommy Armstrong got the start. Taylor Martinez, turf toe. No such thing as a good time to have a turf toe, an injury that keeps you out. However, his replacement's playing very well. They also have an off week next week, so plenty of time to get well for Taylor Martinez before Illinois comes to town on October 5th.
Yeah, and it's encouraging if Taylor Martinez does come back and is playing maybe a little bit injured to where he's not as effective. You still got two guys at quarterback that can go in and run this offense efficiently.
So at least on this day, Eric, the total touchdowns for Taylor Martinez is going to stay at 86, and we can say the all-time leader in combined touchdowns is Eric Crouch with 90.
Woo!
Yes,
You know what? We keep him on the sideline for another couple of weeks. I think we'll be safe, but I mean, the way he plays the game and the way he puts up stats and is able to put touchdowns up on the board, both running and throwing the football, I can't but think that record's going down.
And he's throwing it well this year, 9 touchdowns to only 1 pick. And that efficiency continuing today with Kellogg and Armstrong combining for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Nebraska defense to start this second half, and quite a first half it was. We'll get this first play under our belts, and there is Zach Zenner off the left side, and he just continues to get yards and first downs. Unbelievable. First half, he had 164 yards rushing and gets 11 right there. And his running, a big reason the Jackrabbits started out with their first 3 drives getting points on all 3. Touchdown, touchdown, then field goal. But then the black shirt defense really stepped it up, forcing a punt, getting an interception, and then coming up with a stop on 4th down. And they hope to pick up right where they left off.
But again, Harvey Jackson, I mean, getting outflanked. Number 1, the safety coming down in the line of scrimmage and letting the run bounce outside. He's got to contain that run and force it back in.
Zenner has it again up the middle. Santos, who had a sack earlier, comes up with a tackle. But Zenner picks up 5.
And again, you said picks up 5. I mean, you talk about what their offense is, personality-wise, running the football. You would think that they're going to continue to try to run the ball straight at Nebraska. You're going to put them off balance by running an outside play like they did, then you run it up the middle. You really put the safety, the outside linebackers, in a tough position. Do they contain the run, or they come on and stop this big play from breaking hard up the middle of the field?
Second down, 5 coming up. Austin Sumner, nice first half. He was 11 out of 14. There's Zenner again. And he's dropped by the linebacker, Zaire Anderson. That'll be a gain of 2. So Damon Benning on the sideline, the former Cornhusker. I mentioned that the first 3 series for South Dakota State in that first half led to scores. The next 3 were all stops of some variety. Is Nebraska doing anything differently to stop the Jackrabbits?
Well, I think Nebraska kind of turned momentum when they started bringing pressure. I'll keep alluding to the line splits because I think it's big when you have a defense that's predicated on playing parallel to the line of scrimmage. Nebraska either has to get an extra hat or bring pressure to kind of dictate tempo downhill.
3rd down and 3 from his safety spot. The leading tackler for the Huskers, Corey Cooper, to make the stop to keep that to a gain of 1. Thad Randall, interior defensive lineman, also there.
Well, again, Zenner thinking that he's going to be able to gain some yards and has had a quick crease to pick up 4 or 5, and I can see why they went to him again, but a nice job of Nebraska by staying home, keeping their eyes on the running back, and tackling him when they needed to for a loss.
4 consecutive drives there. The Nebraska defense stepping up and preventing South Dakota State from scoring. Jordan Westerkamp not going to have a chance to bring that one back, and the Husker offense will start from their own 23-yard line. Nebraska defense does its job. We'll see if the Husker offense can do the same on the other side of this break.
Hey guys, I'm here with Andy and Jack Hoffman. And Andy, not that you're going to be media tired, but how about the attention now? Because I know that's what you're after with the pediatric brain cancer and the awareness what you wanted to bring to help folks, especially your son Jack out.
You know, we're just so incredibly thankful for everything that the University of Nebraska, Coach Bellini and his program, and Rex Burkhead and all these guys are doing today to help us raise, you know, national awareness for pediatric brain cancer, the leading cancer cause of death in children.
The big thing is Nebraska, they say there's no place like Nebraska. You've been welcomed with open arms. We know that you're a South Dakota State alum, and that means absolutely nothing to anybody. South Dakota State has the Jack Hoffman team, Jack hats. You guys have just been embraced. What does that mean to you and your family?
You know, I'm a lifetime Nebraskan. I was born and raised in Nebraska. My brother Mike, he played football here in Nebraska. And so, you know, I ran up there to chase a girl and brought her back. And so for us, it's wonderful that what South Dakota State's done. Coach Sigelmeyer is a class act. You know, we've got 2 sidelines, you know, helping support national awareness for pediatric brain cancer. It just really warms our heart.
All right, Jack, one question. We already know, but who are you cheering for today?
Probably Taylor Martinez and Kenny Bell and CJ.
All right,
and Amir Abdullah.
We wish you the best, big guy. Look right at that camera and say, go Team Jack.
Go Team Jack.
There it is, guys.
Damon, well done. Thank you very much. And while we were enjoying that interview there, one of Jack's favorite players, Amir Abdullah, big 40-yard run to set up the Huskers deep into South Dakota State territory, now on the 31-yard line on 2nd down 9. This is Amani Cross cutting and slashing down to the 24-yard line. We all remember 7-year-old Jack Hoffman, the spring game here for Nebraska, running for 69 yards and a touchdown. And Eric, you know this situation very well. You were also here on that day.
I was. I got a chance to experience this firsthand, and what a tremendous job by Bo Pelini and their staff by coming up with the idea to do something like this. And they didn't have to do that. They could have just focused on themselves, but no, they didn't. They took the time. It's about Nebraska. It's about community. What a great job they did in getting him involved. And I tell you what, you see Jack right here get in the end zone. The team is going to hoist him up like he had just won the Super Bowl and scored the touchdown. And to him, that's exactly what he did. I mean, the feeling that he had, you know, with the struggles that he's had with pediatric brain cancer, and just the awareness that it's brought to is not just in Nebraska, but all over the nation. I think Andy said it best.
Kenny Bell had his 100th career reception. It's going to be one he'd like to forget because he puts it on the turf, and the Jackrabbits recover.
Well, and that's one thing that's plagued Nebraska here at the beginning of this season, is an opportunity to really take over this game, but then having some errant fumbles on the ground, not protecting the ball, maybe just getting a little bit lazy. Kenny Bell needs to get that ball to the outside where the ball is protected by him and the sideline. See how he's holding it in the inside arm? Right there, that's when a defender has a chance to wrap it and rake it right out of there. Kenny Bell wishes he had that one back. You're absolutely right, Paul.
Winston Wright, the defensive captain for the Jackrabbits, knocks it out. R.C. Kilgore, the linebacker, with his 2nd fumble recovery on the day. Jackrabbits are +1 in the turnover game. They have it 1st and 10 on the 10. Touch pass over the middle. A lot of contact there from the Huskers' Zaire Anderson. Had his hands on Jason Schneider, and that'll be pass interference against the Black Shirts.
Holding, defense, 13, 10-yard penalty, results in an automatic 1st down.
See Bo Pelini, the former Big Ten safety, starting safety at Ohio State, talking to Zaire Anderson. Not pass interference, just a flat-out hold.
Well, it looks like you saw him just hold the outside shoulder pad down, and looks like they were trying to get the ball to him early, but they came back to him late, and I'm wondering if the quarterback Sumner would have went somewhere else, if they would have even seen that. So a nice play by observing that and actually making the pass.
1st down and 10 again, this time from the 20-yard line. Sumner with a nice pocket to throw out of, and he has an open Jackrabbit downfield. That's Brandon Hubert for 22 yards.
What a tremendous throw by Austin Sumner right here. He recognized that the coverage that he had was to the outside. His receiver was running outside, so he put that ball on the inside shoulder, made his receiver turn around, protecting him, protecting his receiver number 1, and making the completion number 2.
Austin Sumner, nice afternoon, 12 out of 15 for 167 yards. Zach Zenner, more success on the ground. Another South Dakota State first down via the run game. Zenner gets 16.
And it's really just a guessing game right now with Zenner. Is he going to be coming up the middle, or is he going to be going to the outside? And I think it's really confusing the linebackers of Nebraska right now. They don't know whether he's going to be speeding it to the outside or cutting it up the middle, and it puts him in a really tough bind.
1st and 10 from the 41. Zach Zenner right at 200 yards. He has 20 carries for 200 already. And Sumner fires it outside.
Right here, Nebraska's defense tightened up a little bit. They went to one safety in the middle of the field and went a little bit press coverage on the outside, making Sumner have to really hesitate to throw that football, and that's exactly what he did. He couldn't get comfortable in that 3-step drop, had to hesitate, wait for his man to come open, and just couldn't quite get it to him on time with accuracy.
So many ways to view what Nebraska's doing so far, Eric. You can look at the offense and point to the efficiency of Ron Kellogg and also Tommy Armstrong. They're running the ball well, but this rush defense getting gashed from the start by South Dakota State, and that's another throw and catch. Jason Schneider picks up 6. But you've got Zenner with 200 yards rushing already. And you've got the opposing quarterback completing over 70% of his passes as well.
Right, and you can tell where they're attacking. They're trying to get to the outside and attack that edge of the field. And they've been successful.
Personal foul. Hands to the face. 94 defense. Results in an automatic first down.
So we had the holding earlier on this drive, way back in their own territory against Zaire Anderson. Now you've got the hands to the face against Avery Moss. And the Jackrabbits are on the move.
Right here, you're going to see hands to the face. There's no doubt about that. Good call by the referees, seeing that. But again, the penalties with Nebraska's defense, not knowing, getting outflanked, letting South Dakota State get on the perimeter, and now into their own territory again. So Nebraska needs to come up with a big play and a big stop.
And Sumner had his man out of the backfield, Zach Zenner. He couldn't hang on. And it'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, they had a good play set up again. David Santos, this isn't the first time today that he's been outflanked by Zenner and getting to the outside. At some point, you would think that the coaches would see and make this adjustment, or it's just straight up that Santos isn't able to get there with his speed.
And John Papuchis, defensive coordinator for the Huskers, telling us yesterday, Eric, that they were looking forward to playing more of a base defense after playing so many spread teams early. Second down, 10. Tackle made by Stanley Jean-Baptiste. Pardon me, tackle made by Leroy Alexander. That's a gain of 3.
Well, simple play. You got man versus man coverage, and all you have to look for is who's beating who. And they didn't feel good about going downfield right there, so he came down to his crossing route across the field, and he had a beat on his man. So he just put a nice ball in front of him and saw him complete it.
3rd down, 7, the situation. South Dakota State in 3rd down situations in the first half converted 2 out of 5 times. Here comes the pressure. Sumner avoids it, keeps it himself, but can't quite get the first down. Randy Gregory is there. David Santos there to keep that to a gain of 1.
Nice job, nice call there by Nebraska's defense, putting the pressure on 3rd down, not just letting Sumner sit back there and pick him apart on the outside. Tremendous job by Jason Anko putting the pressure on, and then what happens there? Sumner has to come off all of his reads, has nowhere to go with it. He's really not that extended type player as a quarterback, so really puts him in a bad position.
4th down and 6, Justin Syrovatka trying to make it 16 consecutive field goals. And he pulled that one. The streak ends at 15. Go ahead and make it 5 consecutive drives. The Nebraska defense has kept points off the board. 7:38 left in the 3rd. Nice drive for the Jackrabbits, but no points to show for it. The Huskers lead by 21. Husker quarterbacks rolling without Taylor Martinez. It's the Tommy Armstrong and Ron Kellogg show. Here's our first look at the true freshman tailback, Terrell Newby. He gets 5 yards. But as for those quarterbacks, Armstrong and Kellogg, they have combined to go 16 out of 20. And there's Kellogg on the sideline. 2 touchdowns and 0 picks. Damon, what have you seen from these 2 normal backups getting time here today?
Well, I tell you, that it's still Nebraska's ability to stay on schedule. They haven't had the big losses, and if they've taken care of the football, as we see another one on the ground here, guys, that offense has hummed along as business as usual. Conversely, on the other side of the ball, guys, I'll give you a little if-then scenario. If Nebraska plays with 6 and even 7 in the box, then South Dakota State is going to run the ball. Nebraska conveniently finding a way to get stops once they dial up odd man pressure.
There we see Nebraska's 3rd fumble on the afternoon. They lost the first 2. They jump back on that one. Terrell Newby, the true freshman out of Los Angeles, gets the first down by picking up 4 yards. How do you think the running back rotation is going to look once the Big Ten season starts October 5th against Illinois? You think Newby's going to be in there getting his share of carries, or do you think it'll...
Well, I think around Nebraska, you typically have to have 3-4 guys that can really go. And you saw the confidence that they had right here coming out, starting this drive. Starting in the I formation, just running right at him. And I think that's going to be the focus right here. They just need to, first of all, take care of the football is what they need to do. We saw a couple balls on the ground already. And when you talk about being efficient, efficiency means protection of that leather.
That was Jordan Westerkamp carrying the football. Armstrong back to pass. He continues his highly efficient afternoon. That's Westerkamp on the receiving end for a gain of 11. Westerkamp, the state of Illinois' all-time leader as far as high school goes for receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. 68 receiving touchdowns in high school. Gain of 11 there. And there's Terrell Newby once again. Pardon me, Amani Cross picking his way out to the 38-yard line for a gain of 7.
A little bit uncharacteristic there of Amani Cross. It looked like he had a seam and tried to run a little bit parallel, but nonetheless, he picked up some good yardage and trots off the sideline there. I think that if you look at the defense of South Dakota State, it looks like maybe this defensive line is just wearing out a little bit.
Play action to Newby going right across the middle. That's an excellent catch. Big help from his tight end, Ethan Carter, for a gain of 16. Reaching behind and snatching that ball.
Well, you see the end zone view right here. Tommy Armstrong just setting his feet, throwing the football, and there's a very small window right there between about 3 or 4 defenders, and nice job of Ethan Carter finding that football and coming down with it. It takes a man to take a big hit like that and come down with the football.
Armstrong now 11 out of 14, operating from another nice pocket, and that might have been his most impressive throw of the afternoon. That deep comeback for 13 yards to Quincy Enunwa. A lot of velocity, pretty nice accuracy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. See him set his feet again. He's so good at just getting back there, setting his feet, calm, poised, and then putting the ball on the money. Of course, throwing the ball to Quincy Enunwa is not a bad item.
Terrell Newby, true freshman, fighting for extra yardage and lunging his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Newby. Terrell Newby in from 10 yards out to make it 44-17.
Looked like he was down about 2 or 3 times, and Newby, he's showing his balance, but also his strength, because you see his hand come down on the ground, and to be able to hold your body up 2, 3 different times, this shows the youngster's strength right there, upper body strength and balance.
Newby was a touchdown machine in the Los Angeles area, scoring 97 touchdowns all on the ground his last 3 years of high school. Impressive how he found a way to get across the stripe there. Extra effort, and it's 45-17. Tonight in prime time, we close out our night with a Big Ten SEC battle. The Hoosiers taking on the Missouri Tigers. Our coverage begins at 8 o'clock Eastern, presented by Buick on BTN and also on BTN to go. Here in Lincoln, in front of another sellout crowd, the 329th consecutive. The Huskers now with 544 yards of total offense for head coach Bo Pelini and offensive coordinator Tim Beck. They just go 80 yards on 9 plays impressively. Tommy Armstrong, the freshman quarterback, a couple of nice throws, and the true freshman tailback Terrell Newby carries it in from 10 yards out to make it 45-17. Nebraska has now scored 31 unanswered points after trailing in that first half 17-14.
You mentioned 540 yards. You got to be thinking that whatever that record is, you know, being only some time left here in the third quarter, that there might be a record to be had here, maybe.
700 yards is well within reach.
Hey, that's any record to me right there. That's breaking it right there.
It's a record or not. If it starts with a 7,
it's good. It starts with a 7. My hat's off.
The awfully good. 45-17 now. 4:15 left. And Austin Sumner goes back to work. He's 14 out of 19. 0 touchdowns and 1 pick. Haven't seen that often, and that is Zach Zenner stopped for a short gain. He only gets 2. Zenner already 200 yards on the ground. Taylor Martinez smiling. Maybe that means the turf toe is feeling better as he sits this one out. Has an off week next week as well before Nebraska kicks off Big Ten play right here in Lincoln against Illinois.
Well, it'd be nice for him to have that bye week. I think this comes at a really good time for Nebraska. You get through this game. Taylor Martinez able to get healthy, another week to prepare. If not, you've got some more time for your young, inexperienced quarterbacks to get through another practice week.
Reggie Gandy also going nowhere. That Husker defense there right away. Josh Banderas, true freshman linebacker.
And you're not going to see South Dakota State really change their personality. We talked about that. They're not a throwing team. They're a running team. And I think right now Nebraska's kind of got South Dakota State where they want them. You know, up 45-17. Ball game probably out of reach at this point. Now they're knowing that they're going to run, put another guy in the box. You just saw 2 plays ago Harvey Jackson come up and make a big stick on Zenner. And that's the difference maker. That's the confidence that they have.
3rd down and 8. That's picked by Randy Gregory. This will be a pick 6. Husker touchdown. I think this defense likes it when we're up in the booth here, Eric, because 2 weeks ago against Southern Miss, Deontay Evans had one. Stanley Jean-Baptiste both had interception returns for a touchdown. And now Randy Gregory, the man Bo Pelini said is our best edge rusher against the passer, comes up with a pick 6.
Right. Hey, when your defensive linemen are coming up with the pick 6, that's a good feeling right there. You just showed right there his athletic ability and his speed, and that's why he is one of the, if not the best pass rusher. But hey, in contention, maybe one of the best cover guys too for defensive linemen.
Good couple of weeks for Randy Gregory last week against UCLA. Had 8 tackles. That's a career high. A couple tackles for loss. And now has his first touchdown. The Huskers now on a 38-0 run to lead 52-17.
And after a very emotional week, coming off of a loss, all the hot garbage going on with Bo Pelini, this has got to feel really good from the defense perspective. I'll tell you what, the offense even likes it when the defense scores. The coaches at this point are loving to see this. But I'll tell you what, more importantly, we see Deontay Evans, everybody backing him up. Going to go find him in the end zone and give him a big hug. You talk about emotion, you come and give your player a hug after he scores a defensive touchdown. That's a way to let it out.
And I think I owe an apology to South Dakota State quarterback Austin Sumner, because earlier in this game I pointed out that he had thrown a hit this year.
He did.
And if you go back the final 5 games last year, he only threw 1 at that point. Well, he's thrown 2 since then. And the most recent leads to another touchdown for Randy Gregory and Nebraska. Let's go to Chicago and check in with Dave Revson.
Thank you, Paul. Penn State having its way with Kent State. Zach's win after a 3-touchdown game last week. His second of the day there. It's 21-0 Nittany Lions. Paul.
All right, Dave, thank you. And the Huskers off and rolling here after a shaky start. Defense has stepped up, and the offense scoring, the defense scoring as well. You see there Kent State and Penn State, what they have done historically.
And Christian Hackenberg, another young quarterback who's coming off a loss last week, trying to prove himself, and it looks like he's having a pretty good day.
Reggie Gandy, the tailback. He gets out close to a South Dakota State first down. Picks up 10 yards. He's right at the sticks.
Saw Corey Cooper at the end of that play just about take Reggie Gandy's head off. Good job by Gandy, seeing him at the last minute and just taking the duck. And
see a combination of starters and also some second teamers out there for the Nebraska defense right now, as the Huskers show pressure here on 2nd down 1. Gandy off the left side, gets through that initial wave of pressure, and carrying the Husker leading tackler on defense, Corey Cooper, for a gain of 11.
When we saw Nebraska's defense get up in the line, you got one-on-one matchups that are taking place right here. You have got to beat your man. That's what it's about. Beating your man, not letting him turn you the way that they're trying to go. You got to fight through that. And right now, you're seeing Nebraska on this drive not being able to fight through that initial block.
Nebraska defense done very well, though, since they trailed 17-14, keeping the Jackrabbits out of the end zone. Penalty marker is down. Coming up to make a nice play from his cornerback spot is Josh Mitchell. That's just a gain of 1. We'll check in and see about the penalty. Going to be an illegal shift against South Dakota State. Interesting start to this game for Bo Pelini and also John Stiegelmeier. It was back and forth.
Illegal shift on the offense. 2 men moving. That penalty's declined. Resulted in 2nd down.
Here comes the motion on the outside. And Josh Mitchell just right there at the cornerback position, a cornerback blitz or a fire from the corner, coming in there making that play, running with speed. And it's almost that speed that you'd want to see at the beginning of the game from your secondary.
Sumner just goes down with that ball. And Randy Gregory, the man who scored a touchdown on the last drive with the pick 6, will be credited with that tackle.
Well, obviously the focus is a little bit non-existent right now for South Dakota State. Taking a duck right there and not knowing where your running back's at, and your running back possibly going the wrong way. But you got to fight through this. You are down, but the personality is not to give up. The personality right now for this team is to stay focused and still make big plays, and I know that's what their coaching staff is expecting.
3rd down and 10, empty backfield for Sumner. Huskers bring 4. Sumner finally affected in that pocket, and that's a nice job of stepping up and finding an open man. Trevor Wesley picks his way to a Jackrabbit first down, picks up just a little over 10.
You see Wesley right here coming across the field. And then for a quick second, Zaire Anderson just kind of gives up on the play. Took a peek at the quarterback, and then Sumner just dumped it off. And that's a lot of running for a little bit of yards.
As former quarterbacks, you got to appreciate the fact that he did just exactly what he was coached to do. You see a quarterback get out of the pocket, don't just stand there.
Play alive, you know what I'm saying?
Move one way or the other and get open. That's exactly what he did. I don't think Bo Pelini liked what he saw there. He's got to like what he sees on the scoreboard, because back in the second quarter, it said 17-14 South Dakota State. We enter the fourth quarter with the Huskers leading 52-17.
2013 AFCA Good Works team.
And right here you'll see uplifting athletes. C.J. Zimmerer showing his support. Ron Brown standing next to him. A community guy. And what about this? Right before the game, the Nebraska football players focus not just on the game, but bringing everybody together. The community, the family feel, the atmosphere, the fan involvement. It's a very, very special place here at Nebraska. The fans, the team, the university, all is one. Everybody feels like one big family. I commend C.J. Zimmer for doing what he does. He took over for Rex Burkhead. Rex Burkhead was great and instrumental in getting this thing started with the relationship with pediatric brain cancer.
Austin Sumner, nice job there of finding a wide open jackrabbit. Number 85 is Cam Jones, the tight end, to pick up 24 yards. And there is Jack Hoffman, 7-year-old pediatric brain cancer victim. He scored the touchdown in the spring game. Team Jack. You see it on the hats of the coaches in the sideline of South Dakota State. Enjoying what he sees here today as the Huskers early in the fourth quarter leading 52-17. We heard him earlier say Amir Abdullah was one of his favorite players. He's over 100 yards for the third time in 4 games. 15 carries for $139. Sumner off his back foot. Nice job of hanging in the pocket and finding Jason Schneider for a gain of 13.
I tell you what, looking around here at the crowd, again, you see a lot of people here, 52-17. Talk about Nebraska's fan support, supporting their team.
Watching the defense try to keep South Dakota State out of the end zone. They've done an excellent job of that since about midway through the second quarter. The Jackrabbits been stuck on 17 since that second quarter. Sumner to the end zone. Wanted Schneider again. It was incomplete. The coverage for Nebraska provided by Josh Mitchell.
Nice job by Josh Mitchell, just recognizing, not letting anybody over the top of it. Not letting anybody to the outside. Played that very well. If Sumner had anything to do on that play, it could have been a back shoulder throw opportunity, maybe to the outside with a little firmness on the pass.
Up to this point, Nebraska defense done a nice job against Austin Sumner, the veteran quarterback for the 6th-ranked team in the FCS. He is 17 out of 24, but no touchdown passes, and he's also thrown 2 interceptions. And down he goes, Zaire Anderson, with a sack for the black shirt defense and a loss of 7.
Guys, you wonder why Nebraska doesn't bring pressure from the 30 to the 30. Once they get backed up against their own goal line, that's when you see them bring those odd man pressures, and coincidentally, they've had success in keeping South Dakota State out of the end zone.
That's just Zaire Anderson right there, beating his man with speed to the quarterback. Man-on-man coverage outside, 6-man in the box, 6 versus 6. Got the running back in the blocking scheme. And Zaire Anderson just coming up with a one-on-one big play.
3rd and 12. The Jackrabbits only 1 out of 4 converting 3rd downs in the 3rd quarter. Sumner to the end zone, throwing into coverage. Josh Mitchell was there. Cooper was there. Santos as well. And it'll be 4th down.
I don't know what you feel, but I feel that Nebraska's kind of relaxed a little bit. They got this lead. Even with that lead, it's time to relax, but they're playing a little bit better. This is the way that you'd like to see them play when they're down a touchdown, when they're down by a field goal. So just relaxing and playing, having fun, beating your fits, being where you're supposed to be in the run game, reading coverages, knowing the route combinations with receivers. It's all pretty important.
Justin Siravatka. He had 15 in a row, then missed one in the 3rd quarter. He's back on the right track now. The Jackrabbits put points on the board finally. It's 52-20. Next weekend, the Illini get one more tune-up before conference play begins right here in Lincoln, the first weekend in October. But next week, they take on Miami University, and coverage starts at noon Eastern. Next weekend, presented by the United States Marines on BTN and BTN to go. Here's what Nebraska has coming up. They have a bye week coming at a very good time as Taylor Martinez looks to continue to get healthy with the turf toe that kept him from playing in this game. And it all starts, Eric, October 5th, the Big Ten Conference schedule against Illinois.
It does. If you look at the schedule right here, that November streak is going to say a lot. Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State.
And Northwestern prior to that, team that could end up being the strongest in the Big Ten. Certainly right there in the conversation right now.
Right now, probably are leading the Legends division.
Bo Pelini got to be somewhere at some time letting out a sigh of relief just to get back on the sideline after the way this week played out. And he told us yesterday one thing he's always been good at is putting it all aside when it's time for practice or time for a game. His focus is all there. And I'm sure he couldn't wait to get back out here and spend 3.5 hours on the sidelines. It's just a bonus that his team is on top 52-20.
Right. I mean, he's a true football coach through and through. Not a guy that wants to listen to all the stuff that's happening around it. And the focus is the family, the team, the university. Those are the best interests of Bo Pelini. I got to commend him for coming into that meeting, being open and honest with us, and just letting that emotional side out of him. And it's tough to see that. It's tough to see that. Bo is an emotional person. He's an emotional coach. He coaches that way. He lives his life that way, and I think it translates to this team.
Terrell Newby, the true freshman, brought down. And that's a gain of 3. And Bo, it's been 2 decades, but back in 1991, I believe it was the final season, the NCAA allowed 1 graduate assistant per meeting room. When I was a quarterback at Iowa, he was RGA for quarterbacks and receivers. So the 10 or 12 of us in there got to know him very well. And he was only about 23 years old then. And so he was almost more one of the players than the coaches. So we get to know a side of him that you don't normally get to know of a coach. He used to play basketball with us, communicate the coach's message to us. As we watch Terrell Newby go for a first down and then some. The true freshman out near the midfield stripe, and it's 1st and 10 Huskers after a gain of 18. But I've always I've always labeled him an emotional competitor as we watch Newby go around the left side. And I label him that way, not so much because of how he coached, but playing basketball with him. First of all, he could dunk on anybody. He was a fantastic athlete.
Right.
But he would score all the points in a game to 10, and he would let all the defenders know who was scoring the points. He was in people's faces. He was yelling at the guys on our team to play harder and be better. That's who he is. And it's not a bad thing to be that way, but that's who Bo Pelini is. And I think the good side of that is the players love playing for a guy like that.
And I hope he doesn't let that affect what's happened. Let him affect the real Bo Pelini, because I think he has to come out and be himself. The fans obviously are supporting him right now. The university has supported him with the statement. So he just needs to go out and be Bo and enjoy coaching this football team as they go into conference play.
That's a gain of 4. Let's go back to Chicago and check in with Dave Revson.
3rd and 1, 41-yard line.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. The Huskers keep it on the ground here, Monty Cross, and that is another first down on 3rd down and short. Another thing that Bo did very well way back when, I think he does well now, he interpreted the coach's message in player speak. He would tell you, you did well or you did not, in so many words. He wasn't afraid to compliment you, and he wasn't afraid to let you know you're not playing well. And I think players respect that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
First down and 10 on the 39. Swing that one outside to a new face here. That's Alonzo Moore with the catch and the run for 18. Penalty marker on the play.
After the play was over, laid head out of bounds. Defense, number 15, half the distance to the goal. First down.
Penalty on Andrew Brown for John Stiglmeier's Jackrabbits.
Coach making a little note. You might be talking about this after the game. One of those things and how you get better. But looking at Alonzo Moore, you talked about a new face. I like this stride. He caught the ball, and he has a nice big stride on him.
Ron Kellogg, the fifth-year senior, leading the way, handing off to the true freshman, Cyril Newby. He picks up 4. And there's no such thing as a time that you want your veteran quarterback to miss a game because of injury. But there comes a point where you think you believe in your backup quarterbacks, but you can't really to the extent you want to because it's just practice. Now you know that Ron Kellogg can come into a game and play well as Terrell Newby goes into the end zone, 5-yard score. Terrell Newby has his second touchdown of the second half. And the Huskers now have 58 points.
Well, what this does is it builds depth at the quarterback position. Not only do you have 2 guys, but you have 3. And then you see Terrell Newby scoring a touchdown, Amani Cross getting the plays, and Amir Abdullah getting a little bit scared early of an injury. So getting that depth is key as you move into conference play.
The Huskers continue to pull away from the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Terrell Newby, second score of this half, and it's 59-20.
Football on BTN is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state.
Turnabout is fair play here in Lincoln. More on that in a moment. Here is today's hardest working player, presented by Duluth Trading. Corey Cooper last week was the leading tackler. And a nice afternoon today. 10 tackles, 7 of those solo. Also active behind the line of scrimmage. But as for that turnabout being fair play, last week UCLA outscored Nebraska 38-0 to finish. Well, the Huskers right now on a 45-3 run. Jimmy Forsythe returning this one for the Jackrabbits. It's just out across the 20-yard line. And the Huskers, you say you want balance, Eric, and I know you didn't say that. I'm just saying, had you said it, I've got a nice answer. 609 total yards of offense for Nebraska. 304 on the ground and 305 through the air. How about that?
Wow, amazing. I think it's a good play calling by Tim Beck. Good execution, great execution from their quarterbacks. Really protected the ball well for the most part. There were a few fumbles there that they got back and got lucky on, but for the most part in the throwing game, I think that's where I've been impressed the most by the young, inexperienced quarterbacks. Now having a little bit of experience here today.
Sumner out of the backfield, and that is a South Dakota gain of 7. And this goes beyond efficiency, Eric. I think it's just excellent. Tommy Armstrong, Ron Kellogg combining to go 20 out of 24. 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks.
Couldn't agree more with you. As far as the quarterback position is concerned, I mean, that building depth, confidence, rolling into a bye week, more practice, more time to get better. Opportunities to go back and watch yourself on film, and you talk about practice all week, but now they've got game experience. You go in, you watch yourself in a game, and I think that is a huge learning tool, And not only did one quarterback play, but they both played, and they both played very well.
Learning opportunity on the sideline for the young linebacker Michael Rose. 8:38 left. Huskers 59-20. With a look at both quarterbacks for the Huskers today, it is time for the John Deere Gator Game Changer. Can't do much better than that.
You really can. And if you think about what's happened here, Ron Kellogg, he's a Nebraska native. So this is his opportunity to shine, to come in and play very well in front of the home crowd. And then if you look at Tommy Armstrong, the young quarterback, the freshman to make his first start, the pressure that was surrounding him, a lot of smiles out of both those guys right now.
Nebraska pass rush, getting it done right there. Stepping up with the sack is Aaron Curry. And Austin Sumner has had a long second half here.
Aaron Curry just working right here at the end. When Sumner bailed out of the pocket, you saw Curry rip the arm off and try to go make the sack, and he did just that.
Second down, 21. Sumner just loses a handle of the football, and speaking of losing the handle, Reggie Gandy unable to hang on. So getting back to the quarterbacks for the Huskers, it's a good problem to have. But if for some reason Taylor Martinez couldn't play during the Big Ten, would you go to Ron Kellogg? Or would you go to the freshman, the man who started this game, Tommy Armstrong?
Well, I tell you what, until you put them in a heavy pressure type situation to really find out who would fold and who wouldn't, I honestly think it would be a 2-quarterback situation right now. This has gone very well for Nebraska.
And playing them both, the freshman and the 5th-year senior, both earning trust and confidence today. This is 3rd down 21. Sumner looking to work that back shoulder fade. We see so much now on Saturdays and Sundays. That was Brandon Hubert. Incomplete to bring up 4th and 21.
There we go. There's the punt team coming out for a second there. I'm not sure what they were thinking about doing.
Thinking about going for it. Trailing 59-20 on their own 24. Back deep to receive this punt for Nebraska, Jordan Westerkamp. Been involved in the passing game and also the running game, especially in that first half. Westerkamp with a chance to bring it back from his own 35 and gets out to the 43-yard line. Taylor Martinez sitting on the bench, resting that turf toe. A lot of ways to let you know and paint the picture. He's had a great start to his career, joining Antoine Randall, Brad Smith, and Colin Kaepernick as the only players to reach 5,000 career passing yards and 2,500 rushing yards before his senior season. Pretty strong in his first 3 games, 9 touchdowns and a pick.
What he's done has been incredible, but let's talk about this turf toe. Have you ever had turf toe?
I did not have a turf toe.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, having turf toe is like the most painful thing you'll ever go through. It's just a terrible feeling on the big toe. It's like jamming your big toe really hard. It's a bruise, and it can linger. I mean, if you look back on the years, I know Amon Green, he had it here before. Bad case of it. You really got to treat it, but really the only thing that you can do for a turf toe is stay off it. That's why he couldn't practice it all last week. It's a significant injury. I mean, you can't plant and throw the football. You can't plant and run the football. Pretty much done with a bad case of turf toe. So it'll be interesting to see how long this will linger on for Taylor Martinez.
We'll see how the entire team handles practice this coming week, coming off a good solid all-around win. And unable to get around the corner there. King Frazier, the running back, and we have a new quarterback in the game as well. Riker Fife is the 3rd quarterback to play today. But the Huskers don't have a game to prepare for this week. Probably a number of players looking to get healthy. And usually there's an extra day off in a bye week and maybe 1 or 2 of the practices that are more game-like but shorter. Put them under pressure situations, but you don't want them out there for too long.
Right, exactly. You know, we want health is, you know, once you get into an opportunity for a bye week, the health is really what is the main concern. And obviously getting Taylor Martinez is one of those things that you look at as being a concern of theirs. When you take it, the opportunity, what Bo has done about just saying, hey, I'm going to change the routine here a little bit. You know, we're going to give these guys a day off. You know, Monday is going to be their day off to go out and be a student athlete, and enjoy themselves and not have to come in every single day. And really that's what it's about. It's really about enjoying yourself, having fun. This is a time of your life. You know, you have to enjoy it. So I think that little break allows them to decompress, relax, and then get back to work with a high energy level. And that's exactly what they're going to need here these next couple weeks.
Riker Fife with a completion to Brandon Riley, not enough for a first down. South Dakota State will get it back, and we'll see how deep in their own territory they're going to have to line up. Trevor Wesley dropped, sets a nice special teams play by Charles Jackson.
Making a few swift little moves right there. Lucky they didn't get a block in the back. And you see right there, and if you get a chance to watch, the referee is just checking him out the whole way to make sure he's not doing anything unsportsmanlike.
Now inside of 6 minutes, Nebraska on top 59-20. 4th and final home game in September for the Huskers. It started out with a win over Wyoming that turned out to be a little more interesting than the coaches, players, and fans wanted it to be. Followed that up with a big win over Southern Miss. And then last weekend, the disappointing loss to UCLA. And in control of the Jackrabbits now here today. New quarterback for South Dakota State. This is Nate Meyer. And that was a gain of 8.
Well, if you look on the flip side, hey, an opportunity here. You got 5-6 minutes left in this football game. You talk about building depth. Well, you know, if you're getting beat, take your starter out. Get a younger player that's in. You're talking about a freshman right here, Nate Meyer. So get him some reps. It's in an environment right here. Big stadium, all painted red. Work out those nerves from a young quarterback in a situation like this.
And that's Nathan Gary, the true freshman. And when you're a true freshman, even though you start, you get to still play. Either get to or have to still play.
Well, it's inexperience. That's what it is. And getting those reps and seeing different looks. Seeing different looks and understanding where to be. I think that's the key. And I really believe that Nebraska's defense isn't quite there. We saw in the first half, obviously, the big plays up the middle. Not sure what direction they're going. Are they going to be outside, inside? So a lot of things to learn off this tape, but a much, much better second half out of Nebraska's defense. And I think what happened was the secondary coming up and making some big plays in the running game and tackling very well.
Isaac Rodriguez puts it on the turf, and the Huskers have it. Jonathan Rose recovers for the black shirt D. Two interceptions for the defense of John Papuchis. And now they have a fumble recovery here deep in the fourth quarter.
You talk about putting the helmet on the ball and creating a turnover. That's exactly what happened right here. And you'll see Rodriguez just get smacked. And only had one arm on that football. And when that happens, has a tendency to drip out.
Charles Jackson with a nice sequence there. You had the big tackle on special teams, and then with the hit to knock the ball out. Gain of 3. And I know we're watching the offense, but the defense was a big focus coming into today with the way they kind of collapsed at the end of the UCLA game. 4 non-conference games under the belt now, Eric. And Damon, you can jump in here too as well. What do you know about the Nebraska defense now that you didn't know a month ago?
Yeah, well, we got to get back to math class. I think right now it's becoming predictable for opponents where Nebraska either has to change the look at their schematics or the numbers in the box, because right now, as you get ready to go into Big Ten play, they're going to get a steady diet of inside zone if they can play 6-on-6 all game.
Eric, what have you learned about this D?
Well, the D obviously needs a lot of work, and I think being young is one of those things that can only be an excuse for so long. I mean, it's not something that you can use week after week. I mean, getting 4 games in and rotating guys and playing different types of defenses, you really got to focus on run fits. You got to focus on being in the right place. But you got to find players that are willing to go out there and make plays. I mean, you see this. You got to beat your guy one-on-one. Sometimes it's just a matter of beating your guy who is ever in front of you and making the tackle when the time is necessary. Not missing the tackle, not tackling high, not going for the head, wrapping up the legs. And then what I've seen in the past on Nebraska's defense is all flowing to the ball. And I really haven't seen a lot of that young defense of all flowing to the ball, having 11 guys around the ball. It's just not something that we're seeing, but we're used to from a black shirt defense.
And it all depends how you evaluate today, how you want to evaluate what happened with the Nebraska defense. And you look up to the board and you see a team that was averaging over 40 points per game. They only have 20. That's very good. That's King Frazier going out across the 30-yard line for Nebraska, first down and a gain of 5. They had a 17-14 lead in the second quarter, so you've really shut them down since then. But you also have Zach Zenner, who ran for 202 yards on 21 carries. And to start this game, the South Dakota State offense looked to be the best unit on the field when it was the Jackrabbits against the Nebraska defense, at least for a quarter and a half.
It was. I mean, you talk about those big plays. That's exposing a weakness. And I think that teams are going to see that. And they're going to attack that. And when they go into play in the Big Ten, there's teams that run the football and have talented players just like Zach Zenner with speed, and you're going to get more consistency. And I think that exposes something. So, hey, it's a win. Enjoy the win. But the one thing they have to do is continue to get better and continue to make plays and flow to that football and do it with high energy. I think they started slow. I think that the energy level was down because of the whole entire week and what happened. But I think they can put that behind them and start to improve and use that week off next week to get better.
Stay tuned right after the game for the State Farm post-game show as we now approaching the 1-minute mark.
Pretty impressed by Zach Center and what he's done today, putting over 200 yards on the ground here at Memorial Stadium. That doesn't happen too often. There's probably not a lot of backs that can say, hey, I rushed for 200 yards here in Lincoln at Memorial Stadium.
Absolutely. The top back in FCS a year ago and also right now. And he didn't need to gain confidence and trust, but you come in here to this stadium and run for 202 yards as a member of the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. That's doing something.
That's doing a lot. That's doing a lot right there. And you see 5th time he's done that in his career. So a credit to his style, a credit to his toughness. And we see, you know, the coach didn't say he's a speed guy on our call, but I'll tell you what, he outran Nebraska's secondary earlier in the game.
You'll watch the final seconds tick down here, Eric. Your final thoughts on what you've seen here from the Huskers?
Yeah, I think obviously a great win. I think with everything being said, we're winning this game by 39 points and taking care of business is what it's about. I mean, a win is a win and enjoy it and move on. But I think a great way emotionally to tie up this week. You know, what the players have been through, what the coaches have been through was not easy. Was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And for them to come in here emotionally drained, I guarantee you, everyone that's on that field right now is going to sleep well tonight.
See Taylor Martinez greeting the fans there as he sat this one out with a turf toe. He has an off week now as Nebraska has some time to get ready for the start of the Big Ten season, which starts October 5th here in Lincoln against Illinois. They do so with a 3-1 record. What a week it has been for Bo Pelini. He caps it off with a big win, 59-20 over South Dakota State. For Damon Benning and Eric Brown, Sean Paul Burmeister, this has been a presentation of the Big Ten Network. Again, the final score 59-20. Let's go to Chicago, led by our quarterback there, Dave Redson.